Message is being broadcast by the Department of Defense of the Republic. At 2 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, multiple unidentified objects were confirmed to have entered Earth's atmosphere.
Discovery Houston, 20 seconds to LOS T-Drift.
The first message that comes to you is you are a divine being. You matter. You count. You come from the realms of unimaginable power and light, and you will return to those realms.
Even today, there is little value in ensuring the survival of our nation if our traditions do not survive with it.
3, 2, 1.
Broadcasting from an undisclosed location somewhere in the deep and mossy creek bottoms of Cane Creek, Arkansas. Live from Forest Tower Studios. Brought to you by The Fringe FM. This is Lighting the Void. And now, your host, Joe Root.
Oh, yeah, it's week 2, guys. Broadcasting all the way from Forest Tower Studios. I'm Joe Roop, and this is Lighting the Void. Voices for verity in this crazy realm of polarity. Broadcasting from the great American South. It is Monday, July the 16th, and the moon is beginning its wax on into midnight, so make sure that you fire up your chakras, sync both hemispheres of your brain together, and shoot your magical beam of light through your third eye tonight with us as we peer into the void. The call-in number is 1-800-588-0335, 1-800-588-0335. Tonight, researcher, journalist, and truth embargo mover, disclosure activist Stephen Bassett is with us. Had a very interesting and eventful conversation with him back in May. So in the spirit of the new times, or the new slot that we're doing, I thought we need to bring him back for sure. And it's going to be a good conversation. I hope you guys are ready. Now, we're live on lightingthevoid.com, KTOK Digital Broadcast, and The Fringe FM. You can also listen to us over at TalkStream Live. They're always big supporters of us over there, Bill Freeze and TalkStream Live. I love those guys. So, if you can't get anything to work, that's a real quick way to go and listen to the show. We're also on TuneIn and all those other places as well under The Fringe FM. The Fringe FM's got its own app on the Apple Store and Google Play Store. And so we're kicking this thing off right. I think we're doing it right. Tomorrow night, Butch Witkowski's going to be on. He's going to join Lighting the Void. I'm not sure if he's been on this show on Lighting the Void. I don't know. And then Lisa Allen comes back to talk magic and lore with us. And Thursday, we're going to have a really special guest on. I want to say thank you all to you guys that have donated to the show. I really appreciate it. And all of you guys that have supported us. We could really use any support you can bring us. Those T-shirts from TeePublic are still there on the website. Chad sent his picture in with his T-shirt, so I really appreciate it, brother. And you look good in the shirt, man. So I know some of you guys got the T-shirts. I'm going to send my picture, too. I'm not even going to show my face. You know how I am about that. You don't have to show your face. Just send me the picture in of you with your T-shirt. That's it. And speaking of, I guess, promotions, this show is brought to you by Audible, and you can go to audibletrial.com/LTV radio. That's right. You can get a 30-day free trial. If you just go to that link there, there's also a banner on the website and get you a free audio book, a 30-day free trial, and I highly recommend getting that. There's tons of books on all the stuff we talk about in there. You know, you hear me say get the Robert Monroe book, but there's tons of books on ufology, Nick Redfern, Jim Mars, everything you can think of. So if you're like me and you can't make your way through a book, go grab that out. Go grab that and check that out. I want to also thank our new social media followers real quick. Ian Susan, Guy Polwich, Kevin Stevens, Charlie Navarre, Luke Quinn, Thomas Kinnanen, Phyllis Brink, Ingrid John, Beverly Brown, Mark Thrall, Barbara Stewart, Randy Barker, Oscar Nyberg, and Jeremy George. And if I didn't say your name, I promise you I will get to you there as well. So, yeah, we're going to be talking disclosure movement, which Stephen Bassett calls the truth embargo. And he really kind of opened my eyes up the last time that we talked about this. So we're going to get back into this with him. And I think that you're going to find this a little bit interesting. We talk about disclosure all the time, but it's really cool to be able to talk to somebody that's, somebody that's been there. So let me bring on our guest real quick here, and we'll get this cracking. Stephen Bassett is the executive director of the Paradigm Research Group, founded in 1996 to end a government-imposed embargo on the truth behind extraterrestrial-related phenomena. He has spoken to audiences around the world about the implications of formal disclosure by world governments of an extraterrestrial presence engaging the human race, and given over 1,000 radio and television interviews. The advocacy work of this group has been extensively covered by national and international media, including featured by CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, Washington Post, The New York Times, New York Magazine, The Washington Times, and the Chicago Tribune. In 2013, the group held a citizen hearing on disclosure at the National Press Club in Washington. In November of 2014, the group launched 2 political initiatives in Washington, D.C. One sought the first hearings on Capitol Hill since 1968 regarding the extraterrestrial presence issue. The other sought to inject the ET issue into the 2016 presidential campaign. Stephen has appeared in many documentary films, and his lectures and interviews are extensively represented on YouTube. The website is www.paradigmresearchgroup.org. Welcome to the program, Stephen, brother. I'm a bit nervous, but welcome back. It's good to have you on.
Oh, for God's sakes, don't be nervous, Joe. My God.
Well, I've never been nervous. It's just going the 4 nights a week makes me a little nervous because we're getting a lot of listeners. When I look on the listener thing, I see them all coming in. I'm like, oh, goodness grief, here they come. So they're all giving me a shot. You know what I mean? So that's the way it goes, though. But yeah, man,
well,
we had a good conversation last time.
I've looked at this way for years.
Oh yeah,
I'm in front of a microphone.
Yeah.
Or I'm on a micro. Well, yeah, but I'm in a microphone right now. It's a headset to a cell phone.
Right.
And there could be 2 people on the other end listening to this. There could be 200,000. There could be 2 million. But it's the same thing. It's you and a mic talking. So
yeah,
the numbers, I mean, think about the numbers. It doesn't matter. You just do your thing. You be yourself. Ask great questions. And if the 2 people that are listening are happy,
well, we got more than 2 people listening. I can promise you that. But
sure.
If anybody doesn't know who you are, you are the executive director of the Paradigm Research Group, which was founded in 96. And this was for a government-imposed embargo on the truth behind extraterrestrial-related phenomena. You've spoken to several audiences around the world about the implications of formal disclosure by world governments of an extraterrestrial presence engaging the human race, and given over 1,000 radio and television interviews. You've been on CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, Washington Post, the New York Times, everywhere. And in 2013, you did a citizen hearing on disclosure at the National Press Club in Washington, which I think was super impressive. And then I think you did another deal in 2014. You guys really need to check this website out, too, paradigmresearchgroup.org. This is, I just talk to my friends and stuff and host, and we all have our opinions and we all have our ideas about disclosure. But you've been right there in front of this thing for a while, and I can tell you some of the stuff that's happening today. And when I say today, I mean literally today. I'm starting to worry a little bit, to be honest with you.
Well, let's just say this. The United States has been through plenty of crises in 240 years. And it's made plenty of mistakes that I regret and shouldn't be repeated, that haven't been properly acknowledged. In other words, you don't take responsibility for your mistakes, so you're just going to keep making them. And this is another crisis. It is a test of our democracy, easily comparable to the McCarthy era, which was the Japanese internment was kind of a test of our democracy. We failed that, but it was a fairly narrow gauge event. The McCarthy era was more complicated, much more complicated. And it tested our democracy. The crisis of segregation, particularly in the South, still hanging on the modern era, was a test. And now we have this one. But this is different. This is almost the first of its kind. All civilization, all nations and empires, kingdoms, all of them have these crises.
Right.
Some of them deserve them and some of them don't. And the ones that are well-grounded deal with them. They deal with it. They solve the problem. They move on. Those that are not, often a crisis like this takes them out. And they're gone. And so you just read them about in the history books, but they're not around anymore. In the modern era, it's hard to just disappear. In the ancient times, yeah, you could disappear. One good sandstorm and you're covered with sand. You got nothing. Now it's much more difficult. So this is a tremendous test of democracy. And I believe we're going to pass it. But there's going to be some fireworks. And I mean, you're going to see some stuff that you never thought you were going to see. And it won't be long.
Well, I think that the thing about it is today what worries me a little bit is I have a hard enough time trusting my own government. Just to be honest with you, I do. It's not that I don't believe in government. We've had this conversation before. I think government has its purpose. But when I see, I really don't trust Russia, to be honest with you. I don't trust any of the stuff they're telling me. And so at the same time, I worry about the things you're doing. And there's another part of me, Stephen, that I'm really glad that we have somebody on our side in there, if that makes any sense. Like, thank God.
I don't know about me. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, thank God there's somebody in there.
I'm not in there, but I'm dealing with government policies and government veracity, obviously. The truth embargo is a major propaganda maneuver, which means it's a lie, but propaganda is highly sophisticated lies. And it's part of a breakdown in trust based upon other lies, what I call institutional lying. It's been developed, been slowly developing since the late mid-1960s. That's a lot of years of lying, and it's been breaking down the connection between the citizens and the government. And every warning that's been put out has been ignored. There have been several scandals. They're dealt with briefly and then fade away. Nobody follows up. And there was going to be a breakdown. It's like with your body. You abuse your body, and your body gives you a little message, boy, I don't like that. But you go, hey, that's what I do. So you do it some more, and then one day your body goes, okay, here, how about this? And boom, you get a reality check. And you realize if you don't adjust, if you don't make an effort, you're going to die.
Yeah.
We just got a big reality check in the last 2 years, huge reality check, that's saying you need to undergo major reforms, major analysis, self-analysis from a national level, at the national level, or you're going to really have serious problems, maybe even become sick and die. So, in that sense, I'm optimistic that we finally had this reality check, because until we were going to have it, we were going to continue to spin our wheels and go nowhere, which is where we've been going for some time. So these kinds of crises, out of these kinds of crises often come extraordinary developments. But one of the problems we have, and you pointed to it, and I start off all my presentations now with this slide. I tell people, keep this quote in mind as we go through this presentation, which is now about 3 to 3.5 hours, believe it or not. In fact, it's developed very nicely. It's very powerful. And so in the future, if I do get a conference invitation, I'm going to, as a condition of attending, I say I have to have a full 3 hours. If I can't have a full 3 hours to do this, sorry, I can't go.
Right.
But the quote is this: the tragedy of institutional lying is when the truth does show up, it's not recognized. So what do we got here? The CIA was complicit in the misrepresentation of the situation in Iraq. It's not clear to what extent it was intentional, but ultimately, when it started to become clear that this information was not going to hold up, they did not aggressively pull the president back. The CIA has lied a lot about a lot of things, obviously, over the years.
Yeah, well, and then you hear guys like Alex Jones talking about, no offense to anybody that loves the guy, but just this week he was bragging about, I talked to the CIA. I'm working with them. I'm helping them just with this new world whatever thing. It's a bunch of mixed messages.
It's easy enough to say that. Right. Anybody can say that, but I'm not buying that on face value.
It's almost like he's proud of it, though. I mean, how do you know you're being used I think, a lot of ways. I mean, I don't think they disclose everything to you.
But that's even if it's true. So without knowing if it's true, there's almost nothing you can say at all, probably nothing one should say.
Right. I got
So
you.
the government lied about Iraq. They lied about the degree of surveillance. Snowden blew that out of the water. And so now, and there have been other lies going back further. There's no question. I mean, the job of intelligence services is to lie on behalf of the national security, to spy and lie. This is what they do. They're professionals at it. We understand that. But here's what happens. Years go by, and suddenly we have this maneuver against us, essentially an outside hack targeting our political election. And let's face it, we're behind the curve on cybersecurity. We again, the election process is not some big company making gazillions of dollars and spending a fortune to defend their servers and what have you. This is just elections. We got precincts out there that have got 30 or 40-year-old voting machines. They keep them in attics between elections or somebody's basement. We don't spend, and a whole election process is bad. It's corrupt in a lot of ways, gerrymandered. Voters are suppressed. So we got this very, very bad election system, in my view, very vulnerable. And so it got hacked, almost certainly by the Russians. So the CIA, the DIA, and these other agencies, they're gifted. They have abilities. Believe me, they hire the smartest people. They know what they're doing. And so they go into this, and finally they come up with a significant report that it's the Russians. They then indict 2012 Russians. Well, recently 12, and they indicted some more earlier. And guess what? A significant portion of the public doesn't believe it. It's very likely, I feel pretty confident, this is the truth. The truth has shown up, but it's not recognized because all of the systemic lying that has been going off and on for the last 50 years, going back to the mid-60s. That's the tragedy. And we have another example of this. And I understand. Look, I understand. I'm not sort of blaming the people that are not trusting or believing these reports, which are pretty important to our current democracy. And they are, in fact, responding to the government's institutional lying. And so the fault ultimately lies with the government itself. But an extraordinary development occurred, which you know about, in which a significant number of people inside the military intelligence complex, primarily the CIA and the DOD, recognizing that disclosure could very well happen under Hillary Clinton if she'd won. The indicators were all over the place, and she was winning in the polls. Decided they need to get ahead of the issue. They need to show that they're trying to be helpful. They need to do a little public relations, speak out, talk, so the people would see they're not the bad guys, that they're trying to be helpful, and they're actually making the effort at this point in a carefully controlled way, so that laws are not broken, this national security votes are not violated, and what have you. Their numbers are doing it with care, but what they're doing is still unprecedented. It's never happened before. Sure. There have been a couple of efforts to sort of get something out, spearheaded by individuals all the way back in the 60s, 70s, 80s. A couple of what we'll call false starts. They try to make a maneuver, but before that maneuver could be consummated, the inside forces pulled it back in and said, you know what, that's not going to happen, guys. There's a Cold War underway. We got nukes pointed all over the poles at each other. submarines off the coast. We're not going to rock this boat with an ET acknowledgement, so forget about it. I get that.
But
well, this
Steve,
is not the Cold War anymore.
Don't you think part of the problem is that we're here in a society that is extremely polarized by red and blue? I don't think we can really see the truth until we get past that. I don't know
polarization
that we're ever going to get past that.
Polarization is a byproduct of the breakdown in institutional systems and function. It is it's not just about lying, but it is it's about, first of all, the passage of the Citizens United verdict and the passage of some laws way back that gave corporations personhood status, and as a result, massive amounts of monies are now pouring in to the campaigns. That's been growing for years, and then it finally exploded wide open. Mm-hmm. And so you've got people that are being the only way they can get elected is to get huge donations, either directly to themselves or to their party, by people that want something in return. And so now they kind of got to lie about that. And they also have to get partisan, because if you've got somebody putting up, I mean, I think there's a governor's race right now going in Illinois. I think the two parties have already spent, they're both billionaires, and they spent like $80 million.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
To become the governor of Illinois?
Right.
Who wants that job?
And look,
right? I mean,
some of you guys that are saying you don't want to talk about politics, let me explain something to you. The disclosure movement that we had back in December, whether you want to call it soft or hard disclosure, and people like Stephen and other people that are on the forefronts of this movement, if it wasn't for the politics of what's happening on, we wouldn't have a lot of this stuff. You got to pay to play. Now, you can want in one hand, but you don't want any of the politics to happen, and I'm here to tell you that's almost an impossibility.
No, I'm a political activist, and the issue is political now. It's not about accumulating another 1,000 citing reports. It's about resolving a political policy of the government that's now 70 years on. And that policy and the disclosure reality, the truth embargo, doesn't exist in a vacuum. It's nested into the entire political system. And so if that political system is dysfunctioning and crumbling, that is not making it easier to resolve the ET issue, which is a major issue. And as you know, with the partisan politics right now is preventing anything from happening, even the small stuff. But the only thing you can do in Congress now is maybe name a library after somebody. I mean, they finally have to like nearly shut down the government 6 times to pass a budget bill. But so this broad-based system dysfunction, which involves a lot of lying, which has become an epidemic in Washington. Not just politicians who lie to get into office, but institutions that lie in order to make their job easier. And then, as I said, all of the money has increased the hyperpartisanship, because if you've got big billionaires putting a lot of money behind you, so you get elected, and now they want something from you, and now you've got the opposition party that doesn't want that, but if you don't get that, you're going to start losing those big backers without which you can't get elected. And so you have got to fight like the Dickens to get what you want for your backers, and the other ones are doing the same. You know, you can't there's no compromise there. The billionaire backers are not saying, well, why don't you can compromise, cut it down. No, I want this. I want it now. You don't deliver it, I pull the rug out from under you. So the money has driven partisan politics, and then we've had the frustrations that have developed with government and the distrust. You've had various factions, various groups that have used their First Amendment rights, and they have used their right to petition and right to come together. And they have elected a lot of candidates out of their frustration over a number of years into the Congress. And unfortunately, the quality of these people is very suspect. And so we have a particularly high level of individuals that are not particularly suited to govern. And so essentially you got, it's kind of like a baseball team that slowly decays until finally you haven't got any decent players in any position, and the best you can win is 20 games a season. So you're in the basement. You're 70 behind first place. That's what's happened. Only we're not talking about baseball. We're talking about the political governance of the country. Now, to get back to what I was going to say, something else recently happened that falls right into this dilemma that I just enumerated regarding the intelligence reports on the Russian hacking. A group inside the military intelligence complex made a decision to step out as private citizens, form a group, raise money, and start delivering information about the ET issue to the public, including making very strong but carefully worded statements, which any reasonable person would interpret as confirmation of the extraterrestrial presence.
Right.
They can't formally do it. They don't have the legal basis to do it. But what they are doing is legal, so they can do it. And they are private citizens now, but they're still in their non-securios, and they still have relationships to the military intelligence complex or the DOD. And so it's not easy what they're doing. This is the To the Stars Academy of Arts and Science, which I call the To the Stars Academy. And I have looked at it very hard, and I believe we're getting the truth from these people, believe it or not. And guess what? A significant portion of the UFO community or the extraterrestrial phenomena community, as well as people on the edges of that, they're not buying it. It's. I had people that are calling me up saying it's a hoax, and they can prove it's a hoax.
Mm-hmm.
And the people are not who they say they are, and the videos are CGI, all on and on and on.
Well, in all fairness, Stephen, I don't know about the hoax stuff, because obviously that's, to me, is just as crazy as saying an alien landed in my backyard. If you can't prove a hoax, you can't prove. But what some of these people are saying is that they can compare these videos to other things that look similar, if that makes any sense.
So what? So what? You can compare any video like that. Any single video could be manipulated,
right?
But it's possible to determine that. These videos came after being released, declassified, and then given over to Luis Elizondo out of the Pentagon. The pilots in the plane were interviewed saying, "Yeah, I saw it. I filmed it. That was me in the cockpit." But yeah, there's people out there, "Oh, no, the pilot's a fake. He's a walk-in." These are the same people that are saying that whenever you have a mass shooting, it never really happened. They were crisis actors. So what I'm trying to say is this is another example. Now, this is incredible truth that's coming forward. This is a process that could lead to disclosure in a short amount of time, given opportunity. But people, now, I don't criticize people for taking anything that comes out of the government and scrutinizing it to death. I expected that. You would expect it to happen after the kinds of things that have taken place and the lies that have come out, always in service of national security.
I agree.
You can scrutinize it, but then the idea that okay, I've scrutinized it, and then here's what's wrong with it, and the explanations, and I've reviewed the explanations, I reviewed the attacks. They don't measure up. They violate common sense. They use false arguments. They're basically looking for any little hook they can find and then running with that until they pretty much debunk the whole thing. This is, of course, not science. It's not reasonable. But it is another example of the tragedy of the institutional lying is when the truth shows up, it's not recognized. And this is the government's fault. Right? I've followed politics for a long time. I know how often the institutions have lied, and they always have a justification in their mind. It's always national security, and they don't realize the consequences of this down the line, how it can undermine a whole nation's political structure. And so
right. That's exactly what I'm worried about now, Steve.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, it's with what happened today, and I got a message from a friend of mine that's worried, that we'll take a break, but I want to ask you about this, if you don't mind, of what happened today. I'm not trying to pull sides or anything, but I think we need to be aware of what's going on for sure when we talk about UFOs, the paranormal, whatever. It does matter. At some point, we got to get down to the nitty gritty, and that's what we're here to talk about.
Well, it matters if you're talking about the disclosure advocacy movement. If you're talking about the subtleties and the history of the Roswell event, no.
Right.
But if you're talking about the disclosure advocacy movement, which is going, remember, disclosure is the formal acknowledgement of the extraterrestrial presence by the head of state, not by the Associate Attorney General for Foreign Affairs, not by the Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense, by the President of the United States or the President of Russia. That's what it is. And so when that's what we're looking for, and that's the only way to end the truth embargo, everything going on with the president of this country or the president of that country or the political institutions in any country have significant bearings on whether this can be accomplished. And so that's why I talk about it. But I'll answer your question after the break.
Sure.
And I will give a nonpartisan answer, but a lot of people won't like it.
All right, good. That's what I want to hear. We'll be right back, guys. Don't go anywhere. We're here with Stephen Bassett. Stick around.
This is Dan Lopez of Spiritual Warrior Today Radio with another segment for The Fringe FM. Out-of-body experience. An out-of-body experience, OBE, or sometimes OOBE, is an experience that typically involves a sensation of floating outside one's body, and in some cases the feeling of perceiving one's physical body as it is a place outside one's body, or autoscopy. The term out-of-body experience was introduced in 1943 by G.N.M. Tyrrell in his book Apparitions, and was adopted by researchers such as Celia Green and Robert Monroe as an alternative to belief-centric labels such as astral projection, soul travel, or spirit walking. OBEs can be induced by brain traumas, sensory deprivation, near-death experiences, dissociative and psychedelic drugs, dehydration, sleep, and electrical stimulation of the brain. Among others, it can also be deliberately induced. 1 in 10 people have an OBE once or more, commonly several times in their life. Neuroscientists and psychologists regard OBEs as dissociative experiences arising from different psychological and neurological factors. During near sleep, in their main article, Sleep Paralysis, those experiencing OBEs sometimes report, among other types of immediate and spontaneous experience, a preceding and initiating lucid dream state. In many cases, people who claim to have had an OBE report being on the verge of sleep or being already asleep shortly before the experience. A large percentage of these cases refer to situations where the sleep was not particularly deep due to illness, noises in the room, emotional stress, exhaustion from overworking, frequent reawakening, etc. In most of these cases, subjects perceive themselves as being awake. About half of them note a feeling of sleep paralysis. In the essence of near-death experience, another form of spontaneous OBE is the near-death experience, NDE. Some subjects report having an OBE at times, such as near drownings or major surgery. Near-death experiences, or NDEs, may include subjective impressions of being outside of the physical body, sometimes visions of deceased relatives and religious figures, and transcendence of ego and spatio-temporal boundaries. Say that 5 times fast. Typically, the experience includes such factors as a sense of being dead, a feeling of peace and painlessness, hearing of various non-physical sounds, an out-of-body experience, a tunnel experience, the sense of moving up or down or up through a narrow passageways, encountering beings of light, and a godlike figure or similar entities being given a life review, and a reluctance to return to life. To learn more, pay attention to the Fringe FM, where they have plenty of information. And with that, this has been Dan Lopez of Spiritual Warrior Today Radio with another segment for The Fringe FM.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
This is Reverend John M. Polk from johnpolkmedia.com, and you can listen to my show, The Quantum Hologram Matrix, every Thursday night. ETs, UFOs, metaphysics, the paranormal, and more are some of the many topics we will cover on The Quantum Hologram Matrix. Make sure you bring your higher concentric multidimensional selves. That's every Thursday night, 5 p.m. Pacific, right here on The Fringe FM.
Hey, it's Grace. Can we talk about something serious for a minute? Your age. Getting old has its perks. But remember, being a few years younger, you know, your hair was thicker, you didn't have so many wrinkles, that extra weight wasn't haunting you, and you just felt better. Well, we can't turn back the clocks and go back 10 or 15 years, but you can start feeling and looking 10 or 15 years younger with Nature's Youth RSF. It's a doctor-formulated daily supplement that helps your body maintain its peak performance and fight the aging process. Imagine sleeping better, looking better, and feeling better. See how Nature's Youth RSF has helped thousands of people just like you at naturesyouth.com. naturesyouth.com. Imagine how it will feel when your family and friends are asking you what you did to look so good. Your secret will be Nature's Youth RSF. It's time to start looking better and feeling better. Learn more and order your Nature's Youth RSF at naturesyouth.com. That's naturesyouth.com. That's naturesyouth.com.
You asked for it. We listened. Changes are coming to the Fringe FM. Hear the Paranormal Code with Rich Giordano live Monday through Thursday at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern, starting July 9th.
July 9th, we're going to be going 4 nights a week on the Fringe FM.
Followed by Lighting the Void with me, Joe Roop, live at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern. Then stay up with us in the early morning hours for some of the best paranormal and alternative programming around. The truth is out there, and so are we. The Fringe FM. The truth is out there.
There's something out here.
And so are we. KTOK Digital Broadcasting, The Fringe FM.
Welcome back to Lighting the Void. I'm your host, Joe Roop. We're live on The Fringe FM. Call numbers 1-800-588-0335. We're here with Stephen Bassett. Now, a little bit more about Stephen. He also led in November of 2014. He launched 2 political initiatives in Washington, D.C. One sought the first hearings on Capitol Hill since '68 regarding the extraterrestrial presence. The other sought to inject the ET issue into the 2016 presidential campaign. He's also been on several documentary films, and his lectures and interviews are extensively presented on YouTube. You guys can check them out. Remember, the website is paradigmresearchgroup.org. Stephen, I got a question here from Dennis, and Dennis is Canadian, and he says, you know, if NAFTA was considered by Canadians as the, quote, selling of Canada by a former prime minister, then the Trump-Putin meeting is being called the selling of America by some of these people. But he also says, I think that the main gist of the question here is if this Trump-Putin event changes the paradigm of Bassett's program research. He wants to know if it's going to affect your research, and he's also kind of worried about it.
Well, first of all, I'm not a researcher. I don't do research. I'm a political activism. I do activism.
Okay.
And I understand that because my group is called Paradigm Research Group. Believe me, it's my fault. But I called it that because the very first thing I did was register as a lobbyist. And I registered on behalf of a number of research organizations, free, and got the listings in there and everything just to make it look all formal. And so I called it Paradigm Research Group. But sometimes it's kind of be cool to be a little tricky. But in any event, sure, everything that is happening politically has the potential to undermine the advocacy movement.
Right.
Which is a delicate movement operating primarily in cyberspace with minimal funding. So when the politics of our Mideast policies for decades finally resulted in a major blowback on 9/11 of 2001, it blew the advocacy movement up right then. There was a lot going on. Stephen Greer was spearheading a major witness campaign. He'd held some press conferences, more than just one. The big one in National Press Club, May 9th, 2001. Also, he had one prior to that, about 2 years before, I think, and that was at a hotel in Georgetown. He was really inroads. He's making inroads. He's meeting with some insiders. He's bringing witnesses forward. He spent a lot of money to get tapes and interviews. And the 9/11 event, which was political, believe me, right? The people who took over those airplanes were not doing some sort of experiment. That was a act of terrorist war in response to policies by the United States. It's possible there was some internal complicity by the U.S. government with respect to this, though it's complicated and it's not clear what that was. But the investigation was not adequate, and there's some major flaws in that investigation's conclusions. And I don't think it's been fully resolved. But the point is, it blew the advocacy up. The advocacy movement was absolutely stopped short by Clinton's loss of the election. It's not about, she was going to be a great president because she didn't win, we're not going to get disclosure. Yeah. She could have been a terrible president.
I was going to say that. You do realize when you say that there are people that just stop listening to everything you say after that.
Well, then that's their loss.
To me, that's crazy. To me, that's polar line said it again. You're not listening to everything.
Well, if they listen long enough, they'll get it. It's not she could have been a terrible president. The point is she was going to disclose. My job is to get disclosure. Not to get disclosure into some certain special person who has a certain special set of circumstances and qualities, by and large. By and large, is to get disclosure. And that starts with at least one head of state. There's a number of nations that could go first. So I wasn't campaigning for Clinton. I wasn't putting out campaign sayings for her. I wasn't going on doors saying vote for Hillary Clinton. But I had a huge vested interest in her winning, because we had connected her to the ET issue and generated massive media on that. And she basically we forced her to play some of her cards. And so it was all set up, it was ready to go. So that blew up.
She definitely seemed like that she wanted that, though. On the Kimmel show, for sure. I listened to all of them, but she did kind of seem like, I'm really going to do this thing. But, then again, I'm from Arkansas.
I know all of that. I know everything that was said. I know why it was said. I was behind the media engagement. I was driving it from day one out of Alexandria, Virginia. This is not a story that's well known. People,
yeah.
I was doing this behind the scenes. I'm talking about it now. I'm happy to, but at the time, nobody knew where this was coming from. They didn't realize that PRG, namely me and my publicists, were pushing the media, going up on the Hill, until we had a number of reporters convinced this is a legitimate story, and the articles started coming forward. As I said last time I was on, over about 400 were generated. English, and hundreds more in the foreign language press. Her connection to the ET issue was global and worldwide known. But the television debates did not touch it. And the media, while they covered it and wrote it up and did try to get responses from her and her team, and they were stonewalled, but they could have pushed it even further. But there was this huge presidential campaign going on. So it wasn't like this was going to be their focus. Unless she had responded, she could have said any number of things, would have triggered a massive media explosion. But that's not what she wanted. She wanted to get to the White House, and then she could disclose. Then she gets to be the disclosure president, not Barack Obama.
Gotcha. So what do you tell the super frustrated listener? What do we got to do? I mean, if Trump won't do it, Hillary won't do it, I'm just playing devil's advocate here.
Hillary can't do it. She didn't win. Trump's not doing anything. He doesn't know anything about it. And he's not briefed on it. He's not going to be briefed on it. So, again, you asked me before the break, what do I think about what happened today?
Yeah.
And let me respond this way. Donald Trump, the president, is what I call the prince of our disorder. He is the result of decades and decades of malfeasance on the part of both the Democratic and Republican Party. They have allowed themselves to be corrupted. They naturally took full advantage of Citizens United and started collecting billionaires and raking in vast sums of money to spend on these campaigns. The Republicans have been strong on gerrymandering and voter suppression. The Democrats created this ridiculous super delegate protocol for their national convention, and then pretty much went out of their way to prevent third-party candidates or even competition against their preferred candidate. All of these are anti-democratic measures. Johnson helped the lies about the Vietnam War that led to the Pentagon Papers. Bush lied about the Iraq War, which has led to a massive catastrophe. Millions of people have died because of bad policies. So this has been going on. Trust in government's been slowly collapsing. And so it's not as surprising at all that this last election has become the fiasco that it is. Not only from the standpoint of the Russian involvement and the tampering, again, because we haven't reformed our electoral process, our voting processes. We treat them like high school voting operations, crude, unsophisticated. The most important things we do, we don't spend money on it. For the cost of a couple of F-18 fighters, we could probably have a far superior voting system, but whatever. And so the result is we get an election where a very interesting person gets elected. Now, things are going to go badly. Nobody's surprised at that. Doesn't matter who you want to blame. You could blame everybody. Could blame each other until kingdom come. What good is that going to do? And then today, it kind of came to a head.
Yeah, for sure.
Today is a milestone event. There's no question. But it's like a person being ill, and the illness is getting worse and getting worse, and then finally they have a crisis. And it might kill them, but countries don't die as easily as humans.
Well, so I heard a Russian leader today. This is what I heard: destroy our president. That's what I heard.
Again, everybody heard what they wanted to hear. I think there's no question that this was. This is not an unexpected outcome of the whole electoral fiasco. It goes all the way back several years. The way we run our debates, the way we do the voting, the suppression of voting, all the lying, all the propaganda. That has been, in addition to all the money coming in, we have unlimited money. We have unlimited propaganda now because we didn't give much thought to how the major social medias could be corrupted. And so every little negligence, every little oversight has risen up to bite America in its rear end.
Yeah.
And so this is going to explode. Another reason why I'm staying in the background, following what TSA is doing. The TTSA is wisely working behind the scenes. They're doing a lot behind the scenes. We can talk about that, but not out in the public comments because there's no room in the public domain right now for anybody's cool projects. Work behind the scenes, develop stuff, and they're doing that, and then wait for the storm to pass. But it's going to be more like an explosion. I'm going to make a prediction on this tonight that in not too short a time, you're going to have the equivalent of a nuclear bomb, a political nuclear bomb is about to go off. There are going to be scores more indictments, scores and scores of indictments. There's going to be at least one, maybe two suicides. A lot of people are going to go to trial. A lot of people are going to go to jail. And those who survive this nuclear bomb will then have the job of picking up the pieces and restructuring the political system in America, the electoral system in America, which is going to involve some massive reforms in both the Republican and Democratic Party, massive reforms of how we vote, and some real soul searching and some taking responsibility for past actions, and a lot of other things that will help start restoring some trust in government and bringing back what we'll call functional civility. But first, we have to have this nuclear bomb, and it's going to be a political nuclear bomb. And it's not going to be, oh well, it got really uncomfortable, but we worked out something. Oh no, we're past that. The bomb has been dropped from the plane, and it's on its way to the Earth, and it's going to detonate. So that's what's coming. It's going to be unprecedented. It's going to be all-consuming. And on the other side of this, I anticipate that we're going to see some rather very interesting and profound things happen. And one of those could very well be a rapid movement towards full disclosure or disclosure by whoever the hell the head of state is.
That would be
at
great.
That time. And it could be, again, outside the U.S. So that's my prediction. And people can get as angry about it as they want, but they can't do anything about it. And for those that are partisan, all I can say is the U.S. government in the collective is responsible for this mess. It's not like one side or the other. Both sides have participated nicely in the systemic dysfunction that created the Prince of our disorder and is going to create this nuclear explosion. And so blaming the other side is pointless. I mean, some people say, look, they can't see the broader picture. They don't want to look at their side's participation. It's just convenient to attack the other side. Somehow that is going to make things better. It never does, and it won't. But it's human nature, and they need to vent, and they're frustrated. So I don't condemn that. I'm just pointing it out. This is a nonpartisan statement. The bomb's been dropped. It's going to hit soon.
I think another thing, too, is a psychological process going on. And I know this is going to sound crazy, but from the paranormal and ufology community, okay, which is extremely pessimistic about To the Stars Academy. Just, you know this as well as I do.
Not all of it, but a number of people have been quite vocal in their pessimism and distrust of it.
There is a fringe topic radio. Everybody wants to stay in that group. So think about this. Think about disclosure and ufology and UFOs and aliens, and think about that becoming mainstream, like a true paradigm shift. I really think that some of these cats in this community don't want that. They don't want to hear about it on Rush Limbaugh. They want to keep it to themselves.
There are people that want a lot of different things. And history is happening, and I assure you, history is like a tidal wave. It's like a tsunami. You can stand on the beach. Everybody can stand on the beach, and they can have a whole bunch of ideas about how it ought to happen. But the wave's just going to come in and hit the shore. It's going to be 50 feet high, and that's it. It doesn't care about when history happens at this level, it doesn't care about your predilections, your biases, your partisan view. It doesn't care. This is big stuff. And so disclosure cannot happen. Well, I mean, it could. I mean, when there are other heads of state that are outside the U.S. that are not embroiled in a what we'll call a existential political crisis like this one, and they could disclose. It probably wouldn't be a good idea because the U.S. is not in a very good position to deal with it, and they'd have to deal with it. They'd have to announce very shortly thereafter. So, I think if I'm another nation, I would say, let's wait till the U.S. calms down here. Because if we disclose, everybody's going to have to disclose. If we can back it up with proof, and almost every major nation can do that. And so they would hold off. And so, disclosure is not going to come until the other side, until this bomb is dropped, the explosion has gone off, the casualties have been calculated, and then in the aftermath, those still left standing, bloody and beaten and scared, may come together and say, we can't govern this way anymore. We have to reform the American political system. It's long overdue, God knows.
Yeah, it sure is.
And in that space, I could see disclosure thriving. The To the Stars Academy is maneuvering very well on this. They initially planned, I believe, to announce right after Clinton's election, to announce the project that was eventually announced 10 months later. But when she didn't get elected, they had to pull back, made the decision ultimately to announce on October of 2017. They moved aggressively to generate a pretty powerful set of articles in the New York Times, all of which generated several hundred articles, which all are archived on my website. They have tried to speak to the public, a little bit awkward initially. They tried to engage the ET community. That was a little tricky, but they're finding their way, and they're establishing what I would call a legitimate structural format for dealing with the public. One of the components of this format is George Knapp. He is kind of their press person in a way. He is the one that they're giving the interviews to, the lengthy interviews to, Putoff, Davis, and recently Elizondo, just Sunday night, to George Knapp. Excellent interview. And there's a number of interviews. These interviews are all up on the archive. People need to go there and listen to George Knapp's interviews with Elizondo, with Davis, with Putoff. I think he's done a couple of interviews with Elizondo. And then they've decided to work with MUFON, which is an established 60-year-old organization and that's structured. And they're working with Jan Harzan, and Elizondo is going to speak at the upcoming MUFON Symposium in Cherry Hill, New Jersey, just a few miles across the river from Philadelphia. He's going to speak live. He's going to be there. He's also going to be live streamed. It won't be a pre-submitted video interview, and they're comfortable in that setting. This is very good. So that's happening. And they're still trying to engage. They've held off on another article in the New York Times because, again, what's the point, right? Right now, but they can generate that anytime they want to. And just give the interviews. The New York Times will vet those interviews, and they'll probably hand them some new gun camera footage. But they're holding off on that. Meanwhile, Tom DeLonge has made it clear that they've actually been having meetings on the Hill, private meetings. I know a couple of people I think they're meeting with. It's all private because nobody wants to be talking about UFO hearings or ET hearings in the middle of this mess, I assure you. But they are listening to them because these are high-level people. I go over and have meetings, but they're getting a much better reception, I'm sure, than I was. I can assure you that. Also, he's made it clear they're talking to some big Hollywood people for some major productions related to all of this. Not that there aren't a ton of ET-related productions in Hollywood and the film industry. As a matter of fact, the Robert Zemeckis Blue Book narrative series for Netflix is about to launch, and that's one of a number that are going on. So they're meeting, and those projects take a while. So those big projects, is supposedly they're discussing with major studios in Hollywood. They're probably not going to come out for another year and a half or so, which is on the other side of the political bomb that's going to go off.
But do you believe in this Hollywood disclosure type thing? What I mean is get the story out slowly because the public can't handle it, whether it's through Hollywood.
No.
No. I don't think that's the right approach.
The public could always handle it. No, the Hollywood is not involved in some elaborate, slow drip disclosure. The Hollywood is making a fortune off the ET issue because the interest in the ET issue is worldwide. Why? Because a huge number of people believe the ETs are here. And so naturally they're interested in ET movies and they're making a fortune on it. They've done most of the movies are about scary ETs that get scarier as the CGI and the special effects people got better. There are a number of movies, though, that provide a much more subtle an intelligent approach to it. There are a number of movies that, because they're doing a lot of war, military, even CIA stuff, they have to work. It helps them and saves them a lot of money, get cooperation from the Department of Defense. And so there is cooperation that takes place. On occasion, the CIA or the DOD has expressed a concern about some content. But I don't see the evidence that there is an ongoing project where the government is, getting together periodically with major producers in Hollywood saying, okay, here's what we need to get next. We need a little drip here and a drip there. Because if you did that, you'd have too many Hollywood producers going around, going down to the Hollywood drinking spots, getting completely plastered and blabbing it all to some very attractive person at the bar. No, I don't see that. But the fact is that they didn't need to. It was clear that these Hollywood movies about extraterrestrials sold. People go to them. And so all of these movies have been, over 300 since 51, have gotten the idea of extraterrestrials into the head of the American people and pretty much around the world, certainly in Europe, for now almost 70 years. A lot of them are scary, but they're extraterrestrials. Plus, the special effects now take us out into the galaxy, into spaceships and the planets. If I feel like I have already been out there. I've been to planets and other systems. I've been on complicated spaceships. We're so acclimated to this, and it didn't need to be a project with the government because Hollywood makes a fortune off of these movies. They don't need to be prompted by the government. So I don't see that. But I'm sure there are some interactions that have taken place. Some tips, maybe the odd meeting. We know that Spielberg showed E.T. To Ronald Reagan as a screening there at the White House, these kinds of things, keeping in mind that plenty of people inside government know there's an E.T. presence. That doesn't mean they're going to say anything about it, but they're interested. Right. And so I'll leave it to the historians to parse out all the little subtle interactions that have taken place for 70 years. But absence a full understanding and proper information, and absence a truth and with the presence of a truth embargo, we simply don't have a full picture, a proper picture, which means that hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people are going to create their own picture. And because they all have computers and the internet, they're going to tell us their picture. And so we have unlimited, almost an infinite number of explanations, theories, and so forth about what's going on, almost none of which are true. Now, do I blame people for doing that? No. I blame the government. The government made this truth vacuum. The government created this truth embargo. It's kept it on 20-some years too long. And so, yeah, people are going to fill in their own information.
Sure.
And that has to end because this is not, and life is not a video game. Though for some kids it actually may become that. Life is real. Real things, real truth, that when ignored with real consequences, we've got people dying all over the world because of bad politics. There's 8 million people at risk of starvation in Yemen right now. 50,000 kids starved to death last year. Is that a big topic right now? Not really. We got crazy over the 13 Thai kids because it was kind of a dramatic setting. I get that. Hell, that many kids die in Yemen probably every day,
right?
If not more. So then that's just one of many, 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 many serious problems we face as a human race. I assure you.
Well, we got to take our break here, Stephen. We run a little bit over. We're going to take a network break. Guys, we'll be right back. Stick around. We're here with Stephen Bassett from the Paradigm Research Group. We'll be right back.
Roger, roll, Discovery.
HouseAtTheEndOfTheDrive.com. You're listening to KPLK, The Fringe FM.
Hi folks, CBD is the home run hitter for health right now. Why, you ask? Because of what it does for the body. Unfortunately, I can't tell you all about the benefit. You know, there's reasons. Do your due diligence and log on to ancientlifeoil.com. That's ancientlifeoil.com. Ancient Life Oil uses organic ingredients and is blended in coconut oil for some of the best benefits. Legal in 50 states and non-psychoactive. Log on to ancientlifeoil.com. That's ancientlifeoil.com.
Select Joe Roop at checkout at ancientlifeoil.com.
If you have hard water, the lime scale not only leaves white spots, it clogs pipes and breaks down appliances, costing you hundreds of dollars in energy and wear. Eliminate limescale and other water issues like brown staining and bad odors with HydroCare water products available from Wave Home Solutions. Wave's affordable water systems don't use salts or chemicals. You'll love the way your water tastes, smells, and looks. Satisfaction guaranteed. For more information, go to bestwater123.com. That's bestwater123.com.
We've heard your feedback loud and clear. You called it out, and now we're answering. All new live programming, 5 nights a week. Always remember, the Fringe FM is for you, the listener, and we appreciate your feedback. Keep the feedback coming. You can email us at talkback@thefringe.fm, call the station at 501-777-5631, or send us a message on Facebook at The Fringe FM.
Message and data rates may apply.
Hi, I'm Frank Thomas, the Big Hurt. After I left baseball, I just couldn't stay in shape like I used to. Turns out, once you hit 40, your body has less free testosterone, and that can make it harder to get into shape. So I got back into the game with Nugenics. I'm feeling stronger with a lot more energy and drive. You want to get back into shape? Get Nugenics. All you have to do is send one simple text.
Frank's right. Just text STAY to 42424 to get a complimentary bottle of award-winning Nugenics, the #1 selling free testosterone booster at GNC. Its unique man-boosting formula is powered by Testofen, a patented key ingredient clinically researched to help a man feel stronger, leaner, more energetic, and more passionate.
And guys, she'll like the difference too.
Nugenic samples are not available in stores. To get your complimentary bottle, text STAY to 42424. That's STAY to 42424.
Who were the real ancient Egyptians? What is it about ancient Egypt that captivates us all? The critically acclaimed series Magical Egypt is back with all new episodes. Let Chance Gardner and company take you on another adventure through Magical Egypt in the new series Magical Egypt 2. Magical Egypt 2 attempts a forensic reconstruction of the science of the ancients through a study of ancient aesthetics. Also, the best researchers and authors in the field like John Anthony West, Graham Hancock, Laird Scranton, Robert Duval, Lon Maladuquette, Aaron Cheek, and more join together to explore the topics of the esoteric and the hidden messages of the ancient Egyptians. Just go to magicalegypt.com right now and put in the code word FRINGE and get 10% off any download or order, including the groundbreaking original Magical Egypt series, as well as the new episodes in Magical Egypt 2. Also, check out the great work and the companion series at magicalegypt.com. Click the banner on the Fringe FM or go to magicalegypt.com and use the code word FRINGE and get 10% off your order today while it lasts.
Yohoy there, Gigi here.
And I'm Cortana, and we're here to take you on a journey through all things paranormal, metaphysical, ufology, and even psychedelic on our show,
Shift Happens, live every Friday night from 7 to 9 Pacific. That's 9 to 11 Central, right here on the Fringe FM.
And remember, don't feed the Archons, feed ducks instead.
Duck up.
This is Cortana from Shift Happens, telling you to pour a glass and park your ass, because you're listening to KTLK, the Fringe FM. Shifthead.
Welcome back to Lighting the Void. I'm your host, Joe Roop. We're live on the Fringe FM. Remember, go to the website, lightingthevoid.com. Sign up to the newsletter. The T-shirts are there as well from T Public, and send those pictures in. We're here with Stephen Bassett, and we're talking the disclosure movement, the truth embargo. And earlier, I'd asked you a question about the Hollywood and soft disclosure. It sure does seem like some of these things in these films are telling us stuff And then you kind of responded about that they're not deeply involved. But however, what I would like to point out is I did read the book Secret Machines by, Tom DeLonge, and that is definitely, to me, a disclosure book through fiction. So it does seem like it kind of works, right? I mean,
look, soft disclosure has been going on for a long time now. Soft disclosure is small d disclosure is a general term. It applies to revelations or bringing out of information, whatever, to the public, just the process itself. Soft disclosure is a more narrow term. Soft disclosure implies an orchestrated agenda. Really, it's not just small d disclosure. It's small d soft disclosure, meaning that there is a program to put out small d disclosure in an orchestrated way to service, and most people believe, the government's desire to make sure that this doesn't happen too quickly and that people will keep their heads about them when it does. Okay, fine. I'm not saying that there hasn't been some of that over the years. There's indications that NASA has got kind of an agenda in which they are slowly creeping up to finding and confirming actual life outside the planet and taking their sweet time about it. And I have a hunch that is actually orchestrated. In terms of Hollywood, I do not think that the government is actually using Hollywood in an orchestrated way to acclimate this. Hollywood is making hundreds of movies about extraterrestrials because they make billions of dollars. They don't need any prompting from the government. And the majority of these films are about scary aliens, and there's a small minority that are actually very nuanced films, sophisticated films that project the ETs in a much more complicated way, and often in a positive way. Mm-hmm. So the proportion sounds about right. I don't see that. Again, the collusion and conspiracy stuff happens, but it shouldn't be the default position. But that's what I was saying before. Nobody trusts anybody anymore, so everything is a conspiracy. So when something truthful shows up, it's immediately considered a conspiracy. The To the Stars Academy project is the real deal. People are welcome to read all of the criticisms they want, all of the attacks, all of the claims. Fine. All I can say is that I got a lot of experience in this, and I have read pretty much all of that. And by and large, the charges and criticism do not pass muster. They don't hold up. They're not supported by the facts. And there's all kinds of logical flaws, meaning in some cases it's just basically propaganda.
But there's several journalists out there, Steve, that want to talk to Elizondo. They want to talk to somebody from To the Stars. I've emailed them. I know some colleagues of mine have, and it seems like that their reports are definitely controlled. God love MUFON and everybody else, but no one else gets to touch them. And that's what kind of worries me, Well,
but you shouldn't worry you. This is exactly what I expected. This is what you should expect. This is not a simple thing that they're doing. These guys didn't suddenly break out of the Pentagon and the CIA, right? Climbing down, through some sheets out the window and escaped, and now they've created a renegade group. Right, the Symbionese Liberation Disclosure Army, and they're now the enemies of the state, and they're going to bring us the truth. No, this is a planned engagement of the issue by insiders, now outsiders, but still connected inside, to show that the military intelligence complex is wanting to advance the disclosure process. Also do a little PR for itself, because it anticipates if it doesn't do that, it's going to get thrown under the bus by the politicians when disclosure comes. And so they had to create this project. But it wasn't easy to do this. And in order to get enough support, the people involved had to agree that they weren't going to break any laws, and they weren't going to violate their non-disclosure oaths, and all of them have them. There might be one or two there that don't have them, but I kind of imagine they all do. They're not going to reveal classified material. They're not going to break the law, because if they do, they're going to get pulled back. This thing's going to get shut down. There's plenty of opposition inside. There's no way that this is universally embraced by everybody in the military intelligence complex. The full details are just beyond my ability to understand, but they get pulled back. And so if they just willy-nilly go out and start chatting it up with people or turning up here and turning up there, what's going to happen is they're going to get asked lots of questions. Yeah. No, I'm saying they can turn up, but they're going to get asked lots of questions. And the ET community really knows much better than the average person the questions to ask. But the problem is there's so many of these questions they can't answer. And so they would be constantly having to say, I can't answer that. I'm under non-disclosure. And that will just feed the paranoia. And also, they get some attacking questions, and people with, I've experienced it myself. People go off on some bizarre 10-minute ramble. And so it's not a good idea to do that based upon the challenges of what they're doing. And so I fully expect it. They did sort of move in that direction and quickly realized that, wait a minute, this is a 70-year-old, intellectually ghettoized group of people, frustrated, broke, angry, and irritated. And the idea is going to cruise on out there and say, oh, I'm here. I'm from the government. I'm here to help. What truth do you want to know? No. They had to organize this. Now, those that are critical of this don't see that. They expect this, that, and whatever. They don't give a damn about the obstacles or the constraints they're under. Well, I do. And so all I can say to people, if they care what I think about anything, is that I'm fully aware of what they're doing, and I'm pretty much aware of the criticisms. I'm totally comfortable with what's going down, and I encourage people to support what they're doing, give them as much benefit of the doubt as they can, until such time as something pretty egregious takes place or really serious developments occur that cannot be overlooked. And I assure you, if that happens, I'm not on their payroll. I will come forward immediately and say, wait a minute, what happened recently or this presentation or whatever is raising red flags with me, and I'll say so.
Right. Yeah, I've heard some people say that you might be an insider or something, but people said that about me. All you got to do is go on YouTube and read the comment section. It's pretty hairy, but that's all right. It's social media. What are you going to do about it, right?
Nothing.
The thing is,
people are expressing their opinions. Lots of them. We have lots of opinions right now. Wonderful. But eventually we're going to have to get some facts together if we're going to make any progress here. There's the new paradigm that's coming and that needs to come is not going to be built upon a 1,000-foot deep pile of opinions. It's going to be built on a hopefully solid infrastructure of factual understanding of what the government knows about the extraterrestrials, the best information the public sector has gathered about the extraterrestrial presence, as well as testimony from witnesses and what have you. That's what it's going to be built on, not the opinions of like 2 billion people.
Are there any other things, though, that besides, the UFO and the ET movement that have caught your attention? I know you're specifically focused on this because it's big, but things like, just to playing devil's advocate here, MK Ultra, mind control, consciousness experiments, things of that nature. Do you ever get involved with that, or are you just trying to stay strictly UFO, extraterrestrial, disclosure, truth embargo?
Well, those are phenomenology areas, and I'm not a researcher into phenomenology.
Gotcha.
MK Ultra certainly has political implications. I'm aware of it. As far as mind control, the government has been studying ways to control people's minds for a long time, as is the entire advertising industry. There's nothing shocking about that. Eventually, the government actually released documents about the MK Ultra, but for decades they didn't. And then we had the Manchurian Candidate movie and the remake of that and so forth. So, as is with the case of everything else, whatever the government's ability at mind control, whatever the government's usage of what technology they may have developed as a defensive matter or even an offensive weapon, the portrayal of it in the public sector naturally, and this is true of almost everything, was exaggerated and embellished to the point of being first class major motion picture. I mean, that's we were all raised on television and motion pictures, and they make money not by being absolutely factual accurate. They make their money by taking concepts and then dramatizing them up to stage 4. And we're used to over dramatizing everything.
Well, just
so
like
in general,
the movie American Made, that really opened my eyes. I've heard people talk about this story for years. The drug smuggling, from the Contras and stuff back in the Reagan days, and the boys that on the railroad tracks up here in Mena. And I was always like, yeah, that's a story. That's one way of looking at it. That's all. But then a movie comes out. Those
are one of examples. That was exaggerated, but I believe there's some truth there.
Sure, yeah.
Gary Webb's work, I think, was valid, and the CIA was running some drugs to make some bucks. And that, I don't think that was particularly overhyped. The Mena, Arkansas thing, the CIA is operating in a lot of places. The fact that they were in Arkansas doesn't mean anything. But for those that hated the Clintons, my God, they practically had Hillary and Bill flying the damn airplanes down to Central America and bringing the drugs back. Again, that's a kind of hyperbole. There's going to be plenty of this, and there's more of it. We didn't ask for the internet; it was handed to us. Let's face it, we weren't going to give it. We weren't going to give it back. I mean, I know that. And so the internet has added several layers of complexity to the ability to sort the truth. It has really put a lot of pressure on politicians, on the public, on the family. This is a major challenge, and it just came out of nowhere. It's, again, technological experiment, just like television. Right. So, and it makes it very easy. The internet just guarantees that everything will be hyperbolic or made hyperbolic. And naturally, the more exotic the embellishment, the more interesting it is to other people. And the more interesting it is, the more they share it. And so virality is almost based on hyperbole. And so essentially, things just get ratcheted up in due course. And the truth is way in the back. It was left behind months ago. All of this is creating a very misinformed public across a broad spectrum of issues. And then, and this is where the current president is really definitely made things tougher. We have a very substantial professional journalistic community. They go to school, they get degrees, they work in well-financed organizations, and they really try to get the facts on things. They make mistakes, and and there's bias. There's a little bit of bias. There's always a little bit of bias in some of these organizations, but the president has helped to bring all of them into disrepute and make it even harder for people to find facts there. And so once you have rejected the entire professional journalistic community, where do you go to your facts? Well, you go to people who claim they're not part of that journalistic community, the professionals, but they're journalists nevertheless. And they've got a website, and they're ranting and raving and screaming and what have you. And people go there. Well, that just makes things worse.
Yeah, I see your point. I really do.
And so we have a breakdown in the truth process, the trust process. We have broad-based spectrum dysfunction in America. There's almost no institution that isn't become dysfunctional. If in some cases serious, in some cases not so serious, in some cases fatal. And nothing is being done about it because that's part of the deal. If your body gets sick enough, in other words, you got this problem and that problem, and before you know it, you got 10 different problems, the body loses the ability to deal with it at all.
That's very true.
It can't.
It's more
and then you know what happens
cancer
after
at that point. Yeah.
And you know what happens after that? You die. So a society can only handle a certain amount of dysfunction. At some point, it then becomes frozen. It can't actually deal with the dysfunction. It's like a person that's he's lying on the bedroom floor. He's had a heart attack, and he's so bad he cannot make it to the bathroom to get the heart attack medicine. Bye-bye.
But then again, with that being said, though, Stephen, with that being said, there are people out there in the community, let's say they didn't go to college as a journalist, right? And I'm not talking about all of them. They're very few and far between. And they didn't get degrees, and they didn't get the right training in journalism or whatever, or videography, but have taken some outstanding videos. I have done great things. Like, I'm not sure of John Greenwald's background, but as far as journalism goes and documentation, who's done more than that guy, right? As far as
he's done quite well. I mean, John is remarkable, and he's made a tremendous contribution. But for every John Greenwald, there's 1,000 people,
sure,
cranking stuff out that utterly they do not have the ability to sort the truth from the falsehoods, and as a result, you get gobbledygook. And the other thing that's happening, and I've written about this a number of times, and I post regularly a standard repost on this, that as we get closer to disclosure and the interest in it grows, the intensity, which we're seeing. I mean, these conferences these years were very well attended, and the energy levels were high, and people get excited. There's no question about it. They smell it, and I'm really proud of that because I feel like I contributed to that. In other words, they're talking disclosure. They're not talking UFOs. More and more, it's disclosure. It's not UFOs. As that intensity grows, the temptation for people of certain skills, usually very intelligent, to suddenly turn up with really fabulous, entertaining, interesting stories that are very likely to be received with great interest, just grows and grows, and they will continue to turn up.
I got you.
And the fortunate is that most of these stories that I'm referring to are virtually completely bogus. So that doesn't help, obviously.
And they get mass followings, but you know what? Yeah. Like you said earlier, there's one thing I do have faith in. The internet has its problems, but eventually I will say that I have seen this time and time again that the truth, after whatever chaos and destruction has happened, like you mentioned, eventually the truth will end up coming out, and some people will start calling stuff out. And we got to be more accountable for what we're saying online, especially.
Well, yeah, but that's the kind of people that do what I'm talking about could care less about that kind of accountability. The truth embargo does have a certain self-correcting aspect to it. It also has an immune system. If it's attacked across the board, like the efforts to eliminate net neutrality, it has the ability to respond rather aggressively. So it has like an immune system protecting its overall self. And there is some self-correct, but it's still a young technology, and the people are just learning the do's and don'ts, and they're still making tons of mistakes every day. Somebody puts up on the net that just ruins their life.
Oh, believe me, I'm afraid. I'm definitely afraid of that.
Nobody's exempt.
Right.
Nobody's exempt.
I ask that question all the time. Everybody says, just go on here and say this question and that question and just shoot off at the mouth. But the problem is you can't do that. Everybody knows you can't do that in the public life.
And so we criticize some people who are not, as you say, maybe educated, maybe only got high school, and they screw up. Well, you got billionaires. Elon Musk is a billionaire. He's got it all. He's got a lot of followers. He's done amazing things. SpaceX, incredible electric cars. And then, he just gets a wild hair one night. He's irritated with the principal cave dive organizer for the Thai kids who dissed his little submarine, and he puts out a tweet and calls him a pedo. Boom. Right? It's like he's thinking, I'm Elon Musk. What the hell? And he deleted it. Well, that's not the way it works. If you've got the kind of followers that he has, if you have a few hundred followers, you could delete, and that's gone forever. But when you're Elon Musk and you put out a tweet, I guarantee you, even if you delete it 20 minutes later, it's been copied. And so that baby's hit the New York Times and the Washington Post. And he's got a really PR problem here, which he's going to have to address. Hasn't done it yet. But just a totally asinine, stupid thing to do. And he's a billionaire. So, the internet is tough. If America wasn't so damn dysfunctional, we would have already developed, probably with the assistance of the federal government, but with significant organizations with the governors of states, a very significant education program in every school in the country to teach kids what the hell they have there. What do they have in front of them there? What does it mean? What's out there? And how can you use it to enhance your life as opposed to ruin your life? But we're not doing that. Just like we've got a massive tick infestation problem with multiple new disease vectors turning up.
Everybody about that. I pulled one off.
It's going to be a national crisis. Where's the massive response to that? No. Again, a dysfunctional country can't take care of things. And guess what? When you can't take care of stuff, boom, bada boom, it's just going to hit you and hit you and hit you until it overwhelms you. And that's why this nuclear political bomb is going to go off pretty soon, while it's going to ruin a lot of people.
I pulled one off of me the other day. We're going to take a break here, but I pulled one off of me. I told you guys about this I think it was a month ago, these ticks coming in from Asia. I even asked my dad, what is this thing? Nobody knows. Nobody's doing anything about it. Very good point.
Well, you keep an eye on your health, my friend. You start getting symptoms, you make sure you get checked right away.
I will. We'll be right back, guys, with Stephen Bassett. Don't go anywhere.
This is Preston Dennett from PrestonDennett.weebly.com, and you're listening to KTLK, The Fringe FM.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
This is Mary Ellen Popick of the Sanctuary for Mind, Body, and Spirit. Listen on the Fringe FM every Monday at 5 p.m. Pacific and 8 p.m. Eastern, where we talk all things mind, body, and spirit. You'll learn things from the esoteric to modern-day health, as well as hear from incredible special guests. There will be something for everyone each week, so don't miss it. That's every Monday night, 5 p.m. Pacific and 8 p.m. Eastern, live right here on the Fringe FM. See you there.
Want to know what's on the Fringe FM? Check out our schedule at thefringe.fm.
Hi, this is Ryan Gable, host of the Secret Teachings radio show. If you are interested in ancient knowledge and hidden mysteries, as well as a unique and balanced perspective on conspiracies, symbols, and the occult, then join me every Saturday, Sunday, and Wednesday at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 4 p.m. Eastern, right here on the Fringe FM.
Shipping and processing, return postage extra, auto ship and other terms apply. Ladies, here's a number that could really scare you. It scares me. 46. That's 46 million women who suffer from hair loss. That's more than 1 in 3 of us. If your hair is shedding, breaking, thinning, even falling out, you need to do something about it now because it will get worse. Some of the hair you lose will never grow back, so you can't afford to wait any longer. Here's the good news. Keranique, the #1 women's hair regrowth system in America and bestseller at Ulta stores nationwide that's clinically proven to thicken, strengthen, and repair hair is letting 1 million women try Keranique risk-free through this special radio offer. Just dial *243 on your mobile phone to try Keranique risk-free for a full 30 days. You don't have to accept hair loss. You can take control to reverse hair loss and grow back your hair. Just dial *243 right now to start regrowing the thicker, fuller hair you love. Dial *243 to try Keranique for yourself risk-free. Hurry, this offer will not last long. Dial * and the number 243. Dial *.
My name is David. I suffered from MS or multiple sclerosis symptoms since 1986. For years, doctors tried to help, but didn't give me any real hope. I tried almost everything. I was afraid this was my future, but I did not give up hope. 8 years ago, a healthcare worker told me about Regenistem. I called Regenistem. Regenistem explained how stem cells work. No promises, just a simple explanation of the science. They treated me with respect and understood my journey. For the first time, I felt hope. Now I can jog and snow ski once again. It's been amazing. I have been symptom-free of multiple sclerosis for 8 years. I have learned that stem cell therapy has a broad range of medical therapy, from COPD to chronic pain and diabetic neuropathy. It's an amazing therapy. If you want to talk about your chronic pain or your chronic symptoms, call Regenistem today.
Call 305-224-1858. That's 305-224-1858. 305-224-1858.
Hey, Fringe FM listeners. Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or no Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of the Fringe FM by calling 701-719-3971. No smartphone app or internet needed. Saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Call 701-719-3971. That's 701-719-3971. Listen to the Fringe FM on any phone, anytime, anywhere.
Ew, yuck. They're unhealthy. Bugs. I hate bugs. Our home is clean, but occasionally bugs show up. Well, I found something that is tougher than bugs. Orange Guard. From contact, it kills bugs. Plus, Orange Guard kills hidden bugs and keeps new bugs away for weeks. The ingredients in Orange Guard are on the FDA generally regarded as safe list. So Orange Guard may be used around food, humans, and pets. It comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Orange Guard. Available at orangeguard.com and Ace Hardware.
Hey, Fringe FM listeners, guess what? TalkStream Live has just released a new paranormal app exclusively for the paranormal community called Paranormal Radio. Paranormal Radio has a great selection of streaming talk shows dealing with UFOs, the supernatural, sacred geometry, NDEs, and much more, including a network highly recommended, The Fringe FM. You can download Paranormal Radio right now from Google Play and the iTunes App Store.
Paranormal. Somewhere between abnormal and paranormal.
The U.S. military holds the ability to time travel.
Jeremy Scott asks the questions that we're all dying to know.
Wow, that's a remarkable question.
Watch your step. Hide under your blankets.
The show that is going to make you think.
Prepare yourself for what you're about to hear.
This transmission is coming to you.
You're riding into the Paranormal.
Live Saturday nights at 6 Pacific, 9 Eastern on KTLK, The Fringe FM.
How you doing today, guys? This is Garrett Lee.
And this is Randy Warner
from the Healers and Hellraisers podcast,
a podcast about people.
You're going to hear stories from the enlightening to the frightening,
told by those who lived it.
Listen right here on the Fringe FM.
Wednesdays at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, and on the Fringe Free-For-All, right here on the Fringe FM. The truth is out there.
There's something out here.
And so are we. KTLK Digital Broadcasting, The Fringe FM.
Welcome back to Lighting the Void. 1-800-588-0335 is the call-in number. 1-800-588-0335. I know it's a new number. It's going to take hard getting used to. If you have any questions, we got a little bit of time here. If you want to ask Stephen a question, just be nice, no cursing, and be respectful. The thing is I don't screen my calls. Stephen, he said, "Don't cry." I don't screen my calls, so I try to watch out for that stuff. But here's the thing: I want to tell everybody real quick too that our archives are now on Spotify. A lot of our shows on the Fringe FM just got approved on Spotify. So if you use Spotify, you can catch our archives there as well. Stephen, I wanted to ask you a real quick question about, I'm on your website here, and I read a blog post that you put up, and this is about a contactee, about an artist, and I don't want to say his name wrong. Is it Robert Lemos? Is that how you say his name?
That's exactly how you say it.
And apparently this guy's just a brilliant artist, and I don't want to tell the story for you, but it seems like through his art, he started remembering something happened to him, and he started realizing.
Actually, it's the other way around. He remembered it immediately and started doing his art. This is a really cool story. I've always been cognizant of the contactees, and for most of my 21 years, I just did not bring them into the conversation in terms of the political engagement, because just the ET presence turns politicians into sputtering idiots. You start talking contact and their brain explodes, and then you got a brain matter all over the place, and that's a mess. So I don't get into it. But ultimately, I started doing more there because I couldn't deny that these people need to be represented too politically. It's a little harder.
Sure. Yeah.
So, and one of the things that I've always been interested in is the art of this subject. And the reason is that the fact is, simple truth is, without getting into channel material, let's put that aside, if only because there's so much of it and it's so diverse and often self-contradictory. But there's huge numbers of contactees. We don't know how many. The 2% number I have a kind of a good feeling about, but that would put the contactees in the U.S. at around 6 million. And I've done the math on what it would take to do that. It's not that many saucers. It's not as much as you might think. So, but let's just say there's hundreds of thousands. Look, we know that the people that are being contacted physically and taken, abducted, borrowed, whatever the hell phrase you want to use, they're all over the place. It appears that there's genetic lineages that really determine whether you're going to be part of a program, because obviously most people aren't. And so everybody gets taken. I mean, lawyers, doctors, cashiers, baseball players, street sweepers. I mean, there's just no clear pattern there. That means that there are people in the Pentagon that are contactees. There's people on Capitol Hill, which has like 20,000 employees up there, contactees. People in the CIA, most of which I imagine are in the closet and tend to stay there. Some may have said something. But it's also the truth that there are a number of artists that have been contactees. Artists, good artists. So guess what? If they have conscious memories, or if they reclaim some of their memories under hypnosis, they paint, draw these ETs. And so, and the interior of their craft, the exterior of their craft. And so the simple truth is that the primary source for what we know about extraterrestrials doesn't come from the government. It comes from contactees. Their drawings, their depictions, their verbal accounts, and what have you.
Right.
And if you go on the internet and you Google extraterrestrial types, you will see examples of these drawings, which over time, there seems to be a certain group that turns up a lot, and those are the ones that you will usually find on the image section. And you see what they look like. So that's kind of a big deal. Except, of course, there are no extraterrestrials, so these people are just having delusions. And so, again, but they're artists and they're drawing. And I've always known that, and I've always respected that, and I'm always paying attention to anybody doing that. There's even people sculpting, too. And a lot of these people are artists, but they're not, they're just artists. We can all draw a little bit. However, when I was in Barcelona for the UFO World Ufology Conference, which was okay, it was a nice little event. Barcelona is a beautiful city, clean, well-run, healthy people. It's kind of nice to be there, different than here. I happened to get introduced to an artist. And when I got a little sense of what was going on, his friend, we all got in a car and we drove to his studio. And he has this huge studio in downtown Barcelona, 3 full floors. In other words, basically 3 giant loft. It's filled with art. He's got a huge backload of stuff. And this man is 74. He's been an artist for 50 some years.
Right.
And he is he's known in Spain and around Europe. He is an accomplished professional artist working in paint, watercolors, and sculpture, metal casting, and what have you. And he's got a long history as a respected artist. Okay, fine. Oddly enough, not oddly enough, but an interesting synchronicity is that one of the earliest people that really brought the ET issue to the forefront was Bud Hopkins, who I do not believe was a contactee. I could be wrong, but I don't think so. But he got interested in it. And of course, it was the Linda Napolitano case that I think really drew him in initially. But he probably had read, he got interested, and he actually started talking to them and learned how to do hypnosis. But he was an artist, and he remained an artist to his final days. He had a full studio there. He worked in multimedia. He was an accomplished artist, respected artist. Obviously, his esteem in the art community probably wasn't helped by the fact that he became a worldwide known investigator of alien abduction.
No, I was just going to ask you about this Robert.
So that's a coincidence, but so Limo's story was truly intriguing, and he speaks some English. We had an interpreter, and here's what I learned. He 9 years ago, maybe almost 10 now, he went to an event in Brazil, just a regular event, something professional perhaps. He's staying somewhere near the ocean. The exact location is, I don't know. It's not important. And he went out. There are these dunes. There's some basically sand dunes. These are inland sand dunes. They're about 2 kilometers from the shore, laid down many years ago. So it's kind of a nice little area. He goes out there with his pad and pencil because he's always drawing. Not surprising. The real pros, that's what they do. And he's out there in the dunes drawing. And there's a lot of clouds that are in. They've come in. They rolled in off it. Fairly low clouds. And suddenly these clouds start to part. And he sees that a massive ship is literally right in front of him. And by right in front of him, I mean 50 feet away. Wow. And this thing is big. It's probably 150, 200 feet across, 50 feet deep. It's got a viewing section that's dropped down from the undercarriage, which has windows in it. There's actually some windows above it in the very top, but it's so high up there it's hard to see, but he actually puts those in his paintings. And it's an egg-shaped kind of thing. It's like a flat, I don't know how to describe it. It's a squash saucer, but it's a craft that has been seen occasionally, very rarely. And there's 2 entities literally standing in one of the windows, looking right at him. Now, his reaction was actually, he's a highly sophisticated man. His reaction was, extraterrestrials are real. This is amazing. And he starts drawing right away. Well, eventually the carafe leaves. He goes home, and then what he figures out is that he really only remembers drawing about 10, 15 minutes, so he was gone over 2 hours. Oh. And so that was interesting. And he's all excited, and he starts drawing, and immediately he does a little painting, and comes back to Barcelona and arranges for a showing right away. In other words, he doesn't know enough. I think he has no real connection to the issue, and for him, it's a wonderful thing, and it's a chance to do some art. So he holds a showing. Well, let's just say the Spanish art community was not thrilled.
Yeah,
this is 10 years ago. That's around 98. 2008 rather. Still pretty late in the game, but we're talking Spain, a conservative country. A lot of Catholics. It's conservative. And they were not impressed. And in due course, business dried up. No showings, no buyers. He's kind of persona non grata. But nevertheless, he is obsessed with this. Not surprisingly. And so what I learned is for the last 10 years, he has done nothing but art connect He's painted many paintings, some of them very large. He has done paintings of these two entities. He's sculpted them. He has many sculpture pieces. In other words, he's literally devoted himself to the artistic portrayal of this one event. And so I sat down with him, and I had a lot of questions. And after I asked him all the questions, this is what I was able to determine. One, this is a one-off event. He's not a lifelong contactee. This is one of those, it just happened to be there kind of things. Two, that the ship that he saw with the viewing ports and everything, very similar to the kind of ship that was seen by Betty and Barney Hill a long time ago. It's a kind of ship you don't see much at all. It's rare. It's just, again, we talk about the major groups that are dealing with the abduction or contact phenomena, but who knows how many are how would you say, passerbys or occasional visitors or not involved in what we'll call a lot of activity. So I determined that. I thought that was interesting. We determined that he almost certainly had missing time. He was scanned. Some sort of light came out and scanned him. He felt he was being scanned, but as you know, oftentimes people are brought on aboard a ship through a beam of light or a beam of something. So we determined there was a very good chance he was on that ship, and he needs to be regressed to get those memories, if only because he could draw them, and that would be some more art. And I'm already making the arrangements for that. That's kind of in the works.
Well, that's good. There's a reason why I bring this up, though, just real quick. The work that you're doing matters to, I mean, sure, we've got everybody that's got their opinions. I myself have never, I don't believe I've ever had an encounter, but I do believe there are, whatever percentage it is, doesn't matter. There's a percentage of people that have had encounters, and who is really fighting for them? I mean, are we fighting for them by yelling on the internet? Right? I'm not saying that doesn't do its job. It does. It has its place. But that's my whole point. That's why I wanted to talk about this guy, because if you succeed in your work, if Greenwald, Stanton Friedman, Tim Doyle, all the people that I talk to on here, if you guys succeed, how do you think this gentleman's going to feel?
Well, that's one of the reasons I went up there. You're right. The vast majority of contactees are in the closet. The closet's not a nice place to be. And their salvation, their vindication is disclosure. After disclosure, they will come out of the closet in droves, and they will be in great demand, and it will be a renaissance for them. And it's also not out of the question. I mean, I can make a logical case that once formal disclosure is happened and it's worldwide and all the cats are out of the bag, it would not shock me if all what we'll call uninvited contact with ETs ends, because it won't make a lot of sense for them to continue. But that's a speculation. So the man is 75. He's, and he is a prolific artist, and he's working in complex media, metal sculptures. So, he looks 75. He's worked 10 times harder than I've worked in my life, trust me, maybe 100 times. And so he's had a hard life. I say a hard life. He's worked hard. He's 75, and he's kind of broken down a little bit. I mean, he's depressed. It was clear he was depressed. His work is not received. He's lost his agent. But it doesn't matter to him. He's going to represent this event. To him, it's just a ordinarily profound thing.
Right.
But I knew some things he didn't know. So I went up, I interviewed him, and this is what I then said. Robert, this is what you need to understand. There have been a number of people who have some skills to paint or draw, like the Wiener, one of the Wiener brothers he drew a lot of, he did a lot of paintings and drawings about the events of the Allagash event, going way, way back, bless his heart. And it was good. It was very helpful. But there's just almost no known examples of a major established artist being a contactee and rendering this event. By the way, these beings that he portrays are unlike any that I'm aware of. These are not in the standard zone at all, which is Not surprising because the ship is not a typical ship. So it's almost like they dropped in for a visit and they saw this fellow. He believed he got some messages later on. He could have been obviously just guessing, but he did recall getting a strong message that might have been in a dream where he was told the ears are wrong. You need to fix the ears. But other than that, no, nothing. So that's why it's a one-off event. And I said, Robert, look, here's the thing. When disclosure comes, all of this work you have, and he has a lot of it, this work by a highly acclaimed artist, there may be only one or two people like you in the world. And now the entire world knows the extraterrestrials are real and they're here. And your work is going to be worth a fortune. Pure and simple. It's not even a close call.
Right.
The demand for these pieces will just be off the roof. You will be interviewed. You will be talked about. You will talk about your story. If you do regressions and learn what you're on the ship, you'll have even more to talk about. And your devotion to it, the 10 years. It's a major story, and your work is going to be worth a huge amount of money, and you'll be vindicated. And it really picked him up. I mean, it's the first time I think anybody could have said, hey, this has been a rough 10 years, but trust me, it may not go unrewarded. Now, when disclosure comes, obviously if it's 10 years from now, I doubt Robert will benefit from it. But as I told you, or might have told, I certainly have mentioned the last couple of shows, based upon my projection of how things are going to go down politically and what the To the Stars Academy is doing, we have a realistic possibility for this to happen next year. I don't think it'll be this year, but next year, particularly if things have resolved themselves politically, and the To the Stars Academy starts dropping a lot more material, we could see it next year. Somebody's going to break. Some other foreign nation may see us getting close and realize that we could do it, and they're just going to jump in and say, hey, I want that glory. Too bad. So he could be very close to seeing that day come.
Well,
and I think once
I hope you're right. I really do.
Yeah. And once that happens and the vindication comes to him, I believe that he will then be able to move on to new art, new genres, and so forth. But for now, he's locked in. That's all he does. He has portrayals of this extraordinary event from 10 years ago.
As far as your work goes, do you got anything planned? Do you got any future events coming up? Any conferences that you're going to be going to, or are you just kind of laying low till this blows over, or what's your plans for the near future?
Up through the Roswell, which I just went to Roswell at 15 conferences and 21 lectures, and I've got nothing booked for the rest of the year. And frankly, I'm not disappointed about that. So I'm going to be focusing on the website and some blog pieces and doing plenty of media and trying to raise some money. The disclosure documentary, which is still up at disclosure.film, it's just simply unable to raise money now because, again, it's extremely difficult to get people to focus while this extraordinary political developments are underway. So we haven't closed it, but it's kind of in suspension. That could be a major project. I know what to do. We have the game plan. 55 interviews would be scheduled. Hopefully we get 2/3 of those. It'd be a major documentary, but it needs a minimum of $100,000 to start production. We have pre-production out of the way, and $600,000 ultimate budget. But until we get $100,000, it's going to remain in suspension. So that's a huge project, but at this point, I just don't have any idea. I'm hoping at some point I will be able to sit down from some To the Stars Academy people for some candid, off-the-record chats, but it's, it may or may not happen. As a very, very frank, direct political activist, I'm not exactly ideal. I'm not exactly somebody that they would be eager to connect with. I don't think it's a matter of, I don't think disrespecting what I do. Right. It's just that what I do doesn't exactly fit into the agenda that they're working. And I understand that completely.
Well, there are lots of people rooting for you, Stephen. There's a lot of people rooting for a lot of people. And I know you work, in my opinion, side by side with some of these people in this movement. And I hope that everything comes to a head. Whether what people agree on, disagree politically, doesn't matter to me. I'm 100% focused on getting the truth out, and I'm glad you are too.
Yeah, and I hope people understand that the truth may be coming at them right now, and I think they need to give it the benefit of the doubt. They really need to give it an opportunity to unfold. Don't make it any harder on these guys. This is not easy what they're doing. I believe it's the real deal. I believe that they could have enormous impact. And it could be, it's going to trigger other things that could happen. You could have witnesses coming forward because of what they're doing. You could have other countries releasing stuff. So I just hope people will not make it any harder for them to do what they're doing. And let's not forget that somebody associated with them, definitely associated with them, who was one of the key people in the ATIP program, who was doing research with the money, some of the money that was provided by the Congress through Speaker Reed, Robert Bigelow. He's not on the team, but let me tell you, he's totally connected to the TTSA. He went on 60 Minutes and said there's extraterrestrials here last May. And that would have normally been a massive story, except that, well, we're in the middle of a political hurricane. And the media goes, wow, and then they have to go and do this other stuff. But a billionaire space entrepreneur with a 20-year contract with NASA was not apparently dissuaded or concerned about telling a CBS 60 Minutes reporter, yeah, there's extraterrestrials here. And if you don't like that, I don't give a damn. That was huge. Mm-hmm. And so let's not forget that, a lot has happened. And it's not going to go away. It's all thoroughly archived. It's all there. I'm using it in my presentations. And I assure you, when the media gets a chance to double back on this, it is the greatest news story of all time. And all of them like their Pulitzer Prizes. And so, again, next year is certainly not out of the question.
Well, thank you so much, Stephen, for coming on the show. I really appreciate you spending time with us here. And it's always a pleasure. And ParadigmResearchGroup.org is the website. Follow them on Facebook, like the group, follow, like, subscribe, everything, so you can get behind the work and get behind this movement. Stephen Bassett, thank you so much, man. I appreciate it.
You're a good guy. I appreciate your time. Thanks.
No problem. All right, guys, we'll be back in hour 3. That was Stephen Bassett. Always a great conversation. We'll be right back, guys. A little recap.
You're listening to KTLK, The Fringe FM.
Does your basement or crawl space have a damp, musty smell? Well, watch out! That's a sign of too much moisture and not enough ventilation. And that can mean increased mold growth and the buildup of harmful toxins and gases. Don't bother with a dehumidifier. It just circulates the same unhealthy air. Now there's a better way to remove these dangers and odors. It's with the computerized Wave Moisture Control Unit that reduces moisture and expels pollutants.
We replaced our old dehumidifier with the Wave unit, and in only 3 weeks, our basement is dry and the musty smell is gone.
Wave units require no maintenance, no buckets of water or filters, and costs only pennies a day to run. Breathe better, live healthier with an affordable, no-maintenance Wave unit. Call 888-717-WAVE, 888-717-WAVE, or visit dryhealthyhome.com. dryhealthyhome.com.
Ride the wave. Wave Home Solutions for a healthy, comfortable home.
Follow The Fringe FM on Facebook and Twitter at The Fringe FM.
I'm getting older and noticing that my body just doesn't work as well as it used to. So I like to keep fit as possible by hitting the gym a few times a week. Recently, I started having a nagging bicep pain, and it got so bad I couldn't even lift the weights. When I was complaining about it to a friend, he told me about Angioprim. He said chelation helps remove toxins, heavy metals, and cholesterol in veins and arteries that may cause blockages. After just 1 week of taking Angioprim, Angioprim, the pain was gone, and now I'm back in the gym full strength. Scientific research proves the active ingredient in Angioprim has superior oral chelation action that helps promote cardiovascular health. So to learn more, go to angioprim.com. That's ANGIOPRIM.com, or talk to a trained consultant. Call Angioprim toll-free at 877-882-7221. You'll feel better with more energy. Call 877-882-7221 or go to the website angioprim.com.
The Fringe FM has some of the best shows in paranormal, like Lighting the Void, The Paranormal Code, Into the Paranormal, The Secret Teachings, and so much more.
Yeah, baby!
We're live every night with hours of live original programming. Plus, we air some of the best shows in this genre, and we're not afraid to tell it like it is.
I want the truth!
Check us out at thefringe.fm. Follow The Fringe FM on Facebook and Twitter at The Fringe FM.
If you have hard water, the Lime Scale not only leaves white spots, it clogs pipes and breaks down appliances, costing you hundreds of dollars in energy and wear. Eliminate Lime Scale and other water issues like brown staining and bad odors with HydroCare water products available from Wave Home Solutions. Wave's affordable water systems don't use salts or chemicals. You'll love the way your water tastes, smells, and looks. Satisfaction guaranteed. For more information, go to bestwater123.com. That's bestwater123.com.
This is Cortana from Shift Happens, telling you to pour a glass and park your ass because you're listening to KTLK, The Fringe FM. Shithead.
Welcome back to Lighting the Void. I'm your host, live on the Fringe FM. This is Lighting the Void. We were just speaking with Stephen Bassett, and I burned the introduction there at the beginning. I tell you, I get some wild stuff that happens out here at Forest Tower Studios. Right when I went to introduce Stephen, one of my neighbors is beating on the door. I love the guy to death, but I ran out of gas on the road, Joe. I need some gas. And, I'm going to have to get an on-air light. Keep those donations coming so we can put that big fat on-air light. We've got out the front out here in the studio, we got the man, Dan Lopez, who did the earlier OBE segment. And I wanted to say that was some really good stuff, man. Dan Lopez, thank you so much for coming on the hour 3 with us here on Lighting the Void. It's been a while, brother.
It has been a while, and thank you for having me, Joe. I'm glad you like the segment. There's a bunch of topics to just chew on and get it out there for you, and so I'm glad it worked out all right. You think the other one's going to be able to do it, or because I have to do the undo, and I got to see how far I can go to remove all of the effects and stuff like that.
Yeah, I plan on doing more stuff like that, too. I got a couple of other people that are going to help out, too. So that's the thing is I want everybody to... I want as much participation with this show as possible. I love the chat rooms. I love the call-ins, but I want to get people involved. You know, send me your stories. I'll read them on air. If it's cool, for sure. Some of my best friends, like Dan here, can do segments about stuff that you know about and things like that. Because just to be honest with you, I can't stand to hear myself talk for an hour, much less 3. So that's just the way I want to do it. If it doesn't work out, we'll try something new. But everything is based off of feedback. Speaking of which, what did you think about the interview with Stephen Bassett? You got any questions? Anything that bothers you? What did you think about that, Dan?
You know, the original, I can't really speak too much about the politics. I know it does irk a lot of people when we start talking about that. It seems like it's just a hot topic no matter which way you want to turn it. And so... I mean, I can go there, but that's not really my strong point. So I probably would be better off not to.
Yeah, the whole point is we get a lot of yelling and hooping and hollering for disclosure. I'll do it, right? Don't we? We all do it. I want disclosure. I want formal disclosure. I want the whatever at the White House to happen. And yet, we don't want to talk about how to get that done.
Well, I don't think it's going to be getting done. One of the things here's the thing, and this just came to me recently, and it was an old discussion that had been brought back to light, and that was how married free energy is to disclosure. So, because, once you have disclosure, okay, they're here. The next thing is how are they getting around, and why is their stuff so much better seemingly than ours? So the thing is that once this free energy comes out, the big fear is who's going to have it and who's going to use it for ill or good, and you got a lot of freaking psychos out there who just take anything, figure out how it works, and then the next thing you know, you got some freaking nutball who thinks he's a mass shooter with a goddamn x-ray machine.
Really?
He's just burning up continents, and you're like, oh, take him out.
How do you get that with free energy, though? I mean, how do you get that from the free energy thing?
Well, think of it this way: you can either power a flashlight, or you could power a city with free energy.
Right.
With that amount of energy, what can you think of doing?
Well, why wouldn't they just do that with the energy they're using now?
Well, I'm sure some of them are. That's one of the reasons why. No, really, that's why one of the reasons is there used to be a book out there called The Anarchist Cookbook.
Oh, I remember that book, yeah.
Yeah, you can't freaking find that thing out there no more without a knock on the door. So I've heard.
Well, I'm not downloading it. I understand what you're saying. Please don't go out and download that book. I don't think it's a good idea, although it's out there. But I will say that, Stephen Bassett brings up some very true things. Like, it's not exactly alien related, but it kind of is with the ticks. I don't know if you guys remember me talking about that, but these ticks that are coming over from Asia, ugly little things with white dots all around them, super ugly, nasty suckers that apparently carry the virus way, way before, I believe he was telling me, it doesn't have to bite an animal. These things just carry it from birth, right? And every time something like this happens, it always takes somebody dying or it starts to break out. And then they're like, oh, I guess we need to do something about it. When they need to do something about it now. I mean, I got enough problems with spiders here, much less new ticks.
Why don't we just get some possums out where you live?
Well, I got possums.
They eat ticks.
Yeah, my cat runs them off. He got in a fight with one. But no, let's take an example for here. Like brown recluses, big, huge problem here. I hate talking spiders and snakes, but it is. We've got a super infestation of brown recluses here.
Okay.
And they can kill you.
Yes, they can.
People don't think a brown recluse can kill you, but ask Angela Wright. She moved into a house. This just happened. She moved into a house in Tennessee, which is right next door to me. And she had mass quantity. I'm glad it's on the internet, but had mass quantities of brown recluse spiders everywhere. And she just thought they were regular house spiders until she recognized, oh, that's a brown recluse. And, these things are dangerous. Well, I'll cut to the story. She finally got bit. And they just put these little bitty dots on you, Dan. Just little, it's nothing at first. And then it turns black. And then she starts feeling groggy. Well, I'll just go back to sleep.
Oh, shit.
Now her she's having chest pains. She can't breathe. Goes to the ER, and the test reveals she developed 2 blood clots in her lungs, which is a complication of a brown recluse bite. And now she's 25 years old. She's going to end up on blood thinners for the rest of her life, probably. You see what I'm saying? This is just one person. One person on a regular topic that we actually have to deal with here. I'm not saying brown recluses are a problem, but now we got these ticks, we got these things here.
Right.
Might as well be aliens, and nobody's doing a damn thing about it yet. They're just talking about it. Yeah, well, they're here. How'd they get here? Why are they here? It's like the ugly fish. So what I think Stephen is saying is we like to talk about things. We like to talk about aliens and UFOs and out-of-the-body experiences and all of these other things. But behind the scenes, there's a lot of government going on. I mean, do you watch C-SPAN all day and watch what these cats vote for all day long? Because I don't. Probably should, but I don't.
got into it for a while. Around 2012, I got into it really heavy, and then it just was like really crazy. I used to get into it a lot when The West Wing was a show that used to be on, and and then a little while right around 2012, and then this disclosure for whatever was going on. I started watching a lot of C-SPAN, but it was starting to get ridiculous. And what you would see is you would start to see a lot of retarded stuff. Like I wouldn't watch the C-SPAN. I would watch whatever was recorded on YouTubes and stuff. And it would turn out to be things that didn't even occur during the meetings. Like,
what do you mean?
Like, there was one time this one guy was reading off a list of things that he was given in a backroom meeting to read before the state senate, and it referred to something that he could not mention the name of because it was classified. And he went through this whole rundown. I don't know if anybody else remembers. Punch it into the chat because I'm watching it there. So he's running off this list of things that pertain to classified, and everything was classified, and it sounded like everything from a zombie apocalypse to an alien invasion. You couldn't even tell, but that was kind of the gist of the list of stuff that he was running off, and it turned out to be, it was printed, listed right there as C-SPAN, right from C-SPAN, but it wasn't C-SPAN.
It was something different.
It was some stage thing, like an onion thing.
Well, I don't know. Like I don't want to talk to people about government too much. I really don't. I don't like talking about politics. But if we don't have somebody fighting for us on that front, I got to put that in the radio. We're in the hour of the sun. I got a clock that goes off every time we move into a planetary hour. I'm thinking about doing that. You know, those old radio show hosts will be like, well, it's 5:22 and it's windy out. Nobody cares. Do you care if, we're in the hour of the sun, though? That could help you. But anyways, I don't trust a lot of government stuff. And I've talked to Stephen about that.
Right.
I've questioned him about things that I don't agree with. But at the end of the day, there has to be some kind of group effort, regardless of what's going on. Regardless of the whistleblowers out there that are telling you false stories and stuff, and you can tell he didn't want to talk about that, and he kind of mentioned it, but he don't want to get into name calling. Nobody does. I've talked to several guys that just don't want to talk about that. They know what's going on. They know there's huge distractions out there that have nothing to do with real disclosure and the truth embargo, but they also know that, if I say who it is and I say their name, I'm going to be under fire. And I get that. I mean, I get that there's a delicate process to this, Dan, is what I'm saying. John F. Kennedy made that speech a long time ago, and people think that he was talking about, when he said, which one I'm talking about, right? When he said the very word secrecy is repugnant. Right. So, but they always play that clip of that speech, and then they stop it. If they would use the more of that speech and put it in context, what he's talking about in that speech is there is some type of world thing going on. There is secrecy going on, but at what point does it become necessary? And it needs to be talked about. And I think nobody ever plays that part of the speech unless I'm hearing John F. Kennedy wrong, which I'd like to think I'm hearing him right.
No, you're hearing them right, and they do cut it off. And the thing, I remember specifically repeating that speech through Twitter. I just started, 120 character, spreading out the whole speech, and people were acting like it was the first time they'd ever heard it, ever. And they were asking if that was something that I wrote, and I was like, no, man. Know your history, dude. This is why I'm putting it out there. This was the day that he read it. And, yeah.
So what he was trying to figure out is, and I play that part in the speech, is it important of the survival of our nation if we're not going to keep our traditions with us, right? That's what's important to me. At what point does it become stupid or necessary to lie about or to keep something secret, I don't trust that line wherever they're at right now. And this is why I think he's saying that everybody has to be so delicate in their process. Although another part of me says that, you know, to be honest with you, that this To the Stars thing and Elizondo and all this stuff is just a distraction.
It is.
But I still think that maybe, what if Stephen's right, though?
About
it being a good thing. He thinks it's a good thing.
Well, and there's several ways that you could look at this. There's you know, you have to remember there are a ton of people out there who are looking at the New York Times and WAPO and stuff like that, who are getting this information firsthand from that source, who would never even consider, even if it's on the third page or whatever, they would never even consider, you know, they're so far removed because they're so filled with the distraction of life and so filled with the distraction of trying to get ahead and take care of the family and everything else that has absolutely nothing to do
bills, with, you know, what am I going to eat for dinner?
Exactly. Your kids just coming out of the hospital, stuff like that, you know, real life problems, you know. We don't have time for this kind of fluffy stuff and whatever. And this is all great and love and light and all of that stuff. But, you know, at the end of the day, if the bills ain't paid, someone's getting a butt whipping, and it's usually, you know, the head of the household. So they're going to keep their nose to the ground and not their eyes in the sky, you know. So seeing it firsthand, and they're seeing it that it's coming from a somewhat authorization, a recognized authorization, you know, it's fabricated, but it's still an authorization as far as their mind programming is concerned. So it gives them a little more context as far as the global scene is going on with everybody else who's been experiencing it. So all of a sudden, you know, you have these people who are coming over and saying, "Hey, have you heard about this?" and da da da. And then any other experiencer or UFO or truther is out there saying, "Well, yeah."
So you're a metaphysical minister, right? I mean, didn't you get the Reverend? Where did you get that name, Reverend Dan Lopez?
I got the Reverend from a Universal Church, and the Universal Church. When I went for the ordination, that was to get my daughter married.
Oh, okay.
That was the sole reason to do that, was because my daughter was telling me that she found a guy, she wanted to get married, and so I was like, well, would it bother you if I presided over it? So she was like, yeah, I'd love it, blah, 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 blah. So I went and
in a Universal Church where they, I mean, we have one here in Arkansas. Isn't that where it's more of a New Agey type church, metaphysical stuff, or I guess they're welcome to it?
No, it's an open, I would say open format for lack of a better word. But basically, it really has no sense of religion. Okay, it's like an open church. So if you have a belief in a power greater than yourselves, then you basically can say that you belong.
Well, I figured out why. At the beginning of the show, I saw some people bouncing out because, you know, we were talking politics on a paranormal show, right? And I understand that process, believe it or not. I'm not mad at all. I kind of expected that. But at the same time, like tomorrow night, you know, I'm going to be talking with Butch. Those people will probably enjoy that more. Or they'll enjoy when I'm talking to Lisa more about elven magic and stuff. But
well, not to step on you right there, but this is what I said earlier. What happens is that we get to talk to people who we don't even get to talk to on a day-to-day, right? So, but everybody that you talk to, they say things because it means something to them. If it didn't mean anything to them, they wouldn't say it.
Right. Yeah, I know.
So just listen to what they have to say. You don't have to have an opinion or an emotional reaction either way. You really don't. I mean, because it has nothing to do with you. Well, I'll speak for me. It has nothing to do with me, personally.
I think people are addicted to the high of this thing a little bit, just to be honest with you. I mean, if you look at horror films, there's a reason why people go out and they want to see the new horror flick.
The instant response, you mean?
Yeah, the scary movies trigger the body's fight or flight response, so they get a little bit of high blood pressure, increased heart rate, their muscles will tense up, their eyes, they'll even dilate sometimes. So for the overwhelming majority of people, changes occur in the body from watching a scary movie. They're not really bad for your health, and it's not really, I don't know about psychological harm. I know it does things to children, but you'll find that some of those people want that high of talking about strange things. And to me, this is cool because I'm that way. I'm not going to say that's bad. I am that way. But there's things that are out there that are happening to real people that I feel that's important. Like this Robert guy who saw these aliens, drew them on a picture, which is a really cool article on that website, by the way. He saw the aliens. This guy's 74 years old, Dan. He's got nothing to lie about.
Right.
I want him to feel better about telling the story in this society. Look at everything Whitley Strieber went through. Can you imagine? And did it publicly.
Yep.
I mean, it was very hard that guy got criticized more than anybody I've ever seen.
Oh, sure.
As far as, why? Well, he was a science fiction writer. That's what Joe Rogan's telling everybody. Well, wasn't that guy a science fiction writer? And even Dennis McKenna is starting to speak up for the guy who's a very logical thinker, because now people are starting to realize there's more crap going on out there than what your five senses are telling you.
Sure.
And I guess it's not fun to talk about, hey, we still have a government we got to deal with. I don't know if I buy the whole Hillary was going to disclose everything, though.
I don't. Not for a minute. If anybody's familiar with Abby Martin did an expose on John Podesta and basically just wrote him a new one in her expose. And basically that whole thing was to garner the truther movement and to start align them with her campaign, because they were huge. Number one, they were getting huge. And if she could pull them in, then she can go into a whole different avenue with this fake news stuff and take it to a different level. She had absolutely no means or ways in any way to get the truth out. It was Podesta's idea to do this, and that was his job. His job is to gain people. That's his job.
So I'll talk to everybody. I mean, like, let's say you got UFO seekers, Tim on one side, right? He's trying to expose what's going on with the military. You know, he believes that a small percentage of this stuff is alien activity. There's other people that believe that. Doesn't necessarily agree with everything Bassett says, right?
Okay.
But I will talk to both of them, because I have this feeling, man, that guys like him, Tim Doyle, John Greenwald, Stanton Friedman, Kathleen Martin, not saying it, that they're going to make a difference. Now, if you're listening to me, I want you to understand that I'm not discounting your experience as if you got scratched or if you've had an out-of-body experience. I have. But there's no way to get the government to even investigate that stuff whatsoever. So we got to start somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And this is,
well, that's what I was going to say earlier, was that you asked if there was going to be disclosure and if there was going to be anything good about it, or good or bad about it. And I said you could look at it many ways. There's positives to it and there's negatives to it. It just depends on which way you want to look at it.
Yeah. But it needs to happen, for sure. And I know it's going to hurt a lot of religions. It's going to hurt. Man, there are whole networks dedicated to everything religious. Like, I'm not talking about people like me that know, okay, Jesus existed. He's the Son of God. I'll go with that. I believe that. And then look into I'm talking about networks that are 100% millions of people following this narrative, a literal narrative in the Bible and scrolls, right? They're following this thing. Imagine let's say you were the governor of Arkansas. Now I know you're going to say, I would just tell them. But really, like when you become at a certain level responsible for so many people, you've got to understand cause and effect, which is an old Hermetic axiom, by the way.
Yep.
What is the ripple going to cause this ripple to do and the next ripple and so on based on our past experience?
Exactly. You know, you want to hear something semi-related to this is Richard Giordano was having this little tirade about psychics earlier, and I wanted to get into it with him, and I'm waiting to hook up with him as far as the Skype is concerned. Speaking of cause and effect, and that's one of the main principles is the psychic phenomenon, is that if you can see and read the causation lines, you can understand what's going to happen, when it's going to happen, and how it's going to happen just by watching the data. You know, I won't sit here and say I totally disagree with his predictions tonight, but I won't say that some of it doesn't look like it, you know, isn't going to come through, basically by the way that they're going about what they're doing. Okay, they're going to come out with their information. There's going to be people coming out with more experiences. There's going to be people trying to make money off of this darn thing because it's the news story on the block.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And so, and then this whole wave is just going to come about. Everybody's going to sit there and just like you said, they're going to go to the movies. They're going to feel this euphoria, and then they're going to leave, and that'll be it. You know, and then be a lull and everybody will go back to sleep for a while because they're all content from eating their bread and watching the circus.
Truth. That's the truth. Sometimes the truth is out there, right? But sometimes it hurts. For real. But,
totally.
But that's what we're here for, guys. Last break of the night, I promise. We'll be right back. We're here with Dan Lopez in hour number 3 on Lighting the Void. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Listening to Lighting the Void Radio. Are you intrigued by paranormal talk radio? You'll love the new paranormal radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app. Free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Lighting the Void is proud to announce Mind and Magic's Protection and Defense Course for protection from magical and psychic attacks. This is not a joke. Magic practitioners are on the rise, and with that comes attacks from baneful or black magicians that try to harm or hurt others for their own selfish reasons. If you are not a believer in psychic attacks, then this isn't for you. If you are, and you want the power to defend yourself and your family and home, then I highly suggest you grab Freighter Xavier's Protection and Defense Course. In this course, you will learn how to tell if you are under attack from a natural source or if an individual is attacking you. The 4 forms of curses and attacks. How to remove self-imposed curses. The correct way to cleanse your home from negativity or malevolent entities. How to make your own holy water. What you should always keep near or under your bed. Herbs that banish negativity and promote purity. The most powerful banishing rituals on the planet. And for those that seem to want to harm you the most, how to put your enemies in a hell pit of their own making. You can also learn protection against shadow people and other entities. Or are you just in a bad planetary alignment? Even how to get rid of an enemy using a tic-tac box. It does not matter what your faith or belief is, this will work. Click the banner on the website at lightingthevoid.com or go to lightingthevoid.com/Xavier.
Ahoy there, Gigi here.
And I'm Cortana, and we're here to take you on a journey through all things paranormal, metaphysical, ufology, and even psychedelic on our show,
Shift Happens, live every Friday night from 7 to 9 Pacific. That's 9 to 11 Central, right here on the Fringe FM.
And remember, don't feed the Archons, feed ducks instead.
Duck up.
Hey, Fringe FM listeners,
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or no Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of the Fringe FM by calling 701-719-3971. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. Saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Call 701-719-3971. That's 701-719-3971. Listen to the Fringe FM on any phone, anytime, anywhere.
The Fringe FM.
Welcome back to Lighting the Void. I'm your host, Joe Roop. Don't forget, you can always call in 1-800-588-0335. That call-in number is also free for Canadians as well. You know, I really stuck my neck out for all of you that wanted to be able to call from Canada for free. Purchased a call-in number. By the way, when you donate to this show, to Lighting the Void, I use your donations wisely. I'm buying equipment. I'm investing in the business. You know, it's not like I'm buying a bag of Doritos with it. So it goes back into the business. And part of your we have that number for you to call. And we gave away some pretty cool stuff, and I'll continue to do that. I want to do the whole first-time caller thing, Dan. You know, that's why Art Bell did that, I believe, to get those first-time callers coming in. But
look, so before you return the Ferrari.
What? Yeah, no, I'm going to be giving away no Ferraris or anything. But I've learned that, you know, I've had some bad experiences with the mail too, though. I won't go there. But I think something's coming. I think that Stephen Bassett might be right. Look, they're working on space planes right now. Whoever thought that was going to happen? I never thought I'd be alive to see a space plane, ever. You know, I mean, if you'd have told me about that back in '96, I'd have laughed at you.
That's a questionable move. I thought it was a questionable move on Trump's part. Not to start getting into that, and I apologize anybody who wants to take offense to this. But as far as the Space Force is concerned, if we're going to think about them already having a dark budget, a black ops, whatever the hell you want to call it, space thing already in place. And now all of a sudden, if the president can't really get a hold of the information that he wants to get a hold of in regards to the alien presence, his putting a Space Force out there could allow him, or whoever takes his place, a little access to adjusting the narrative. Doesn't have to completely rewrite it, but as far as, like, you know, you're gonna have all of these guys, SpaceX and all of them, putting stuff up there, and Virgin America or Virgin Atlantic or whatever the heck they are.
No, they're
Virgin Space. You're gonna have them having stuff up there. You're gonna have people going up and down. Okay, they're paying hundreds of thousands of dollars for these excursion flights to go into space. They're gonna see things, and they're gonna have to be put into an NDA so that they can't say nothing when they come home. But people are not going to.
Well, what do you mean they're going to? What are they going to see?
What do you think they're going to see?
You're talking about aliens, UFOs, all kinds of crazy stuff.
All kinds of crazy stuff. They have. Did you see not too long ago? There was this thing researched on the YouTubes about the astronauts, the cosmonauts, who were going up into space and being visited by their dead relatives.
No, I didn't see that.
Yeah, so people are freaking experiencing things that they would not experience in the regular down here. So situations like that are going to be hard to keep the wraps on. And if you want to keep this alien presence things on the wraps, and we have commercial people going up there just, you know, willy-nilly, you know, trying to have a good time, and all of a sudden, holy crap, what the hell is that outside?
Yeah, I don't believe it for a second You know, Trump's getting up there saying, "Oh, I'm glad that people are launching. Maybe SpaceX, maybe these billionaires will get there before we do, but we're going to try." I don't believe for a second that this government or any other government wants people flying around space freely, no matter how much money you got, which is why I think they're doing this. They're already launched it. I mean, Boeing's in contract right now with the Defense Advanced Research Project Agency, which is just another alphabet group that nobody knows anything about. You know, and they're going to launch several satellites in orbit later this year, which is a counterintelligence thing, I'm sure, because we're getting our butt kicked in tech intelligence. And then they're working on these space planes, manned or unmanned, I have no idea, that are going to protect these satellites. So if you think for a minute that when he smiles and says all of these rich people are going to go flying in space and we hope they get there before we do, thumbs up, go America, I'm calling BS on that. Because one thing I know about man and human nature is we love power. We've already got the land masses and the oceans down. Hell, we even own the water, and people got their stamps on water here. Now it's space. Space is going to be next. And no one's going to be able to do a damn thing about it.
I got a question for you, Joe. But what do you think about Musk and the SpaceX being given a new contract with the DoD for their heavy Falcon Heavy?
Well, I mean, I think that it's going to be integrated. They're just they have to control the situation. Why spend all this tax? You know, I mean, logically, why spend all our tax money, my good American that earn dollars, on new projects when they already got a guy that's doing it? You know, and then now that's killing two birds with one stone. Now we can control this cat.
Right. Yes.
And, you know, we can control what he does, so he's not going out further than us, and he's working for us now. And I'm certain he's going to sign that non-disclosure agreement when we put up all this money and promises in his future, or bonds, or whatever they're going to promise the guy.
Yeah.
I hope he doesn't do it.
What's worse
He's already doing it, though, isn't he?
Kind of hope he doesn't sign it, too. But what's worse is that if he does, they can easily and just as quickly take it over and shut him down.
Yeah.
Take it over and shut him down. And that'll be, you know, whatever public face that he's had with the people in the past, you can kiss that goodbye. So I hope he actually does something for Flint, Michigan before this goes down. Because have you heard? He's committed to taking care of Flint, Michigan and their water problem.
Right.
Which I sincerely hope does happen. Somebody's got to do it because apparently our government just does not give a damn about it.
Right. 931 area code. You're on the air.
Hey, is that me, Joe?
That's you. Who are we speaking with?
Can you hear me? Yeah, this is Tommy. Good evening, Joe.
Hey, Tommy. How you doing?
Good. Joe, I got to tell you, man, you got to give that number out a couple times and let people know you can't write it down that fast. You give it out too fast.
Well, I'll say it 4 times from here on out. 1-800-588-0335. It's on the website, too.
Yeah, well, I can't get to that right now, but yeah, just a little reminder there. I tried to grab the pen the first time. I didn't know you changed it, but anyway.
Well, thanks, brother.
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
No, just a little tip. Say like, because I hear other hosts, they'll say, I'll give the number out in a second, or you might do that. I'll give the number out a couple times to give you time to write it down. You gave it out so fast, man.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, I got it. I was taking a chance. I didn't know if I had the right number. But I wanted to say, as far as the disclosure, Stephen Bassett, I mean, these are all good folks. I'm not putting anybody down, but there is not, let me just say this definitively. This is coming from me. Whatever anybody wants to think, that's fine. But when you think about it, there is not going to be any disclosure of any extraterrestrial presence or UFOs by the government coming out until there's a mass arrest of the negative element controlling the planet, because not only are they hiding and covering up the big secret about the extraterrestrials, but everything else too in our lives is a complete and total lie. And that's why they're not going to come clean until they're out of the way in a new
You're talking about that secret space program stuff again, right?
No.
Because here's the thing.
No,
I understand where you're coming from, Tommy. I really do. And I understand you saying what you believe is your belief, and who cares, right? I get that. But what you're talking about there, this negative influence over the planet, we all feel it, but there needs to be some substantiated evidence.
I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking. You heard me talk about that before. That's one thing.
Then what are you talking?
Okay. You need to have a conversation. You haven't had this conversation yet, but I'm not going to just give you a little bit. There is so much. You know as well as I do. I mean, they are lying. There's a fiction government cannot tell the truth. The court system is based upon the say-so of your will, not theirs. They don't have a will. They need the people's will. They're covering up everything. The food we eat, the court system that's lying. It'll turn the whole thing upside down, so they have to get out of the way before anybody could tell the truth without getting killed. So it's in the books. I mean, it's on the register. It's going to happen where they are all 500. I heard the number is about half a million, 500,000 arrests around the world. It is a galactic agenda. It is on high, and it's a freeze frame type of affair. It's a big, huge disclosure about everything, not just the UFOs. They can't just come out with sorry folks, we lied, there's UFOs and we got a secret space program and all. No, because what's going to happen, there's people like you and me and everybody else that's got a lot of questions and wants to know the truth. They'll say, oh, okay, so you lied to us about the UFOs. Well, what about this? And what about this? And on down the line. And they just don't have time to answer everybody's questions. So that's why they're shucking and jiving and dancing and
So you don't think Stephen Bassett or anybody like John Greenwald, Stanton Friedman, or anybody's doing any work? The American government shot. It's all a big lie. It's all fake. Our entire American culture is a psyop. It's all propaganda, and we're living in one big fat lie.
I missed the first part about the people you named. No, they're doing good work, but they don't see that you can't have a disclosure of the extraterrestrial presence without disclosing the truth about all the other lies that they've been telling us for centuries, you see.
I don't agree that they're going to be a bunch of arrests either. Number one, the number is just way too big. Number two, there's just way too... They don't even have the personnel to run off all of the people that are going to... This is information that's been coming out since Drake and Cobra have been out since 2010, and nothing has happened since.
Mm-hmm. They need a mass arrest, and it's part of NESARA, the National Economic Security and Reformation Act. It's a reformation. It's in
That's
the
not going to
vault
happen.
in
This redistribution of wealth is not going to happen.
No, it's a simulcast of a mass arrest and then the disclosure. There will be no more, as I understand it. This comes from 38 levels above the President of the United States. It's a Faction 3 information you don't get on the Internet. Disinformation.
Where are you getting this stuff from, though? Where can I look this stuff up? What's the name of these levels, these information, all of this stuff that you're talking about?
Well, you couldn't really. I know some I know some people. I know some people that talk about this and have for quite a number of years.
Well, great. I know a lot of people talk about this stuff too, Tommy, but we're not getting anywhere. We're talking in circles. Where can I go find the information on this? Do I got to go to Saturn? Do I got to go to Sirius B? Do I have to meditate for 9 hours? Where can I see this galactic army of people that are here to protect us that the government has no clue about? Where?
No, I'd say you're throwing a little confusion in there.
I'm definitely confused.
Well, yeah, I understand. I do. I'm just spilling a few beans here for a couple minutes, but it's a longer thing. But I don't know everything, but I've been following this just like everybody else, and I've thought this through, and other people feel the same way. Or no.
That doesn't mean it's true, though, Tommy. I've thought a lot of things through, and a lot of people agree with me, but it still could be BS.
Well, there has to be a mass arrest, and that's going down. It's not 20 or 30 or 40,000 indictments. It's 500,000, and this is galactic. It's high technology. Look, the Blue Avians, there's a saying that
I can't do this tonight, Tom. I can't do the Blue Avian thing tonight, brother. I can't do it.
I was just going to say that the good aliens, the benevolent ones that follow the prime directive of non-interference in a developing civilization, they do not interfere. The Blue Avians do not interfere. The other ones, with people having experiences, it's of a negative sort of variety that they can interfere because they're negative. And the higher beings, you're not going to get any clues or anything. You've got to be able to use your imagination.
Well, I don't want to use my imagination. If you're telling me that I can meditate or I can have some type of interaction with these people, then I'll believe you, because I know some people that can do those types of things. I really believe in that. I do, Tommy. But when it comes to shaking up a paradigm, which this whole entire 3-hour process has been about, there's a process to it. And, we can say all night long that nothing's ever going to happen. It's that, to me, and please don't take offense to this, but it's that whole attitude that causes none of disclosure to happen, because we're all in this, super lied to victim mode, regardless if it's true or not. We've got to get out of that mode. We've got to make some type of progress from the ground up, not the galactic sky down. Let's get grounded a little bit. Put our feet on the ground. You know what I mean?
Well, up until now, all the pushing and disclosure movements, moaning, bitching, whining, complaining about all that's wrong in our world, the people have failed to produce any results whatsoever. These bad boys running the show, the world, they're not going to stop or give up. They're going till the end. And so it's serious. It's very serious to our lives. And, so we need the galactic intervention. It's on the ground. It's in the Pentagon. There's good guys here, good guys above. But it's up to the people. Nobody's going to save anybody. It's up to the people, like you and me and all the people, to rise up in our consciousness to, you can't win by fighting anything.
Sure.
You're fighting a fiction entity. They're anti-human, anti-life. It's nothing personal. They just don't like us because they don't have emotions to care or have compassion, and that's just the way it is. And so, this has been going on a long time. It was to happen in our lifetime that we were to move beyond and evolve, and that's why we're awake to it now and talking about it.
I got you.
The language precedes the event.
Right. I appreciate your phone call.
Out there?
I got to let you go, brother. We've been on the phone for a long time. But I appreciate you.
Okay.
I do agree with you on that.
Okay, Joe. Yeah, we'll talk again. That's all right.
You have a good one. I do.
it.
Yeah, you have a
You
good
too.
one. I agree with Tommy on the fact that there needs to be a consciousness change. But we're not going to, I mean, this is what I'm talking about here. And I've been talking about this till we're blue in the face. It's like, Dan.
I know.
Do I have to be the one that comes out and says it? Like, everybody is afraid to say that you're being lied to. But don't you guys see what's going on with this whole thing? Like, well, we're just going to get past it. We're not going to get past it. People are sick of being lied to, and that includes in the paranormal field. You ain't going to bounce back from it. It's over. Unless you can bring some evidence that all this stuff is happening, then it's just going to have to be your individual thing, and you're going to have to try to stop selling it to people. That's the whole problem with this spiritual thing. When it becomes a mass movement, when it becomes an egregore or a corporation gets behind it, everything goes to hell. Sorry, I'm ranting. Dan, my bad, brother.
Nothing wrong with that.
I mean, Tommy calls in here all the time. He talks about, he obviously feels strongly about Corey Goode and David Wilcock's story. What I'm saying to you guys is,
don't believe the hype.
Words, letters, books, stories, stuff like that are the worst form of communicating truth in your life. I can get into a Facebook chat room and type, and somebody thinks I'm being hostile with them, and I'm just answering their question. So you're counting on other people's stories that are telling you about all this stuff, and they got insiders with absolutely less than zero of substantiated evidence about their story, not about aliens and UFOs and other things like that. It's just like when you go down to a place, or you've been somewhere and there's been a UFO experience or a Bigfoot experience or something like that, and something really did happen, but they get caught on this ride, right? And Chase Kletsky's talked about this. They get caught on this ride where they want to just keep it coming. They want to make the story bigger, and then it becomes this comic book. We're not getting anywhere with that. I know people don't want to hear what Stephen Bassett has to talk about. What he's doing is not easy. What Tim Doyle's is doing, it's not easy. It's hard work. I honestly think, and I've learned this in my own spiritual journeys, and Dan has even told me this, sooner or later you're going to get your head out of the clouds. I'm starting to rant, Dan. Apologize, bro.
This is where we go, man. This is where we go. I mean, the next segment that I'm supposed to be doing is going to be touching on things like normalcy bias and cognitive dissonance and all of that. So the people get into a point where once their beliefs are challenged, they really don't want to go nowhere, and they have this ostrich syndrome, and they wind up sticking their head in the sand, and they don't want to hear nothing other than what they want to believe.
I am not saying that their story is wrong or it's a lie. Okay. What I'm saying is, as progress has to matter. We can't make progress without substantiated things happening. Whether you want to call it, how am I going to substantiate the evidence that I've had an out-of-body experience? If you read Robert Monroe's book, he tried. He went in a scientific approach. He opened a place. He had others come in, scientists, all these people to go on the record. They have substantiated evidence, enough witnesses to that story will hold up in court.
This is why I said what I said earlier was that, the information that he's been saying, it doesn't originate from Corey Goode, and this has been information that has been out since 2010. As far as I know, when I started getting back into this nonsense. And I got hooked into there. I was like, oh, yeah, this is hooked. It's going down. It's going down. These people are going to move the banks and stuff like that. The Hague is getting involved and everything, and this is cool. And man, nothing happened. Nothing happened. And worse happened. The people who were running this stuff got busted for all kinds of nonsense, and finding out that they had people saying and writing and reading this information that wound up being a freaking chant.
Yeah.
It was a ritual.
I'm not here to question people's integrity or browbeat them or anything like that. David Wilcock put out a lot of good information. I've got some of his books. I don't know much about Corey Good, but what I do know is there's a lot of stuff to me, it's just a big distraction. Sorry, that's what it is to me.
There are many aspects about this whole freaking thing that you really do want to have some kind of substantiated stuff, some kind of real stuff. If things are going to go down, if people are going to get arrested, let's see them get arrested. And I'm not talking about, one or two people, one or two pedophiles out there, a general here, a congressman there. I want to see a sweeping cleaning of the closet. Otherwise, nothing's going to happen. You know when I believe things will be happening? When I can see the blue sky again.
Right.
Not this milky white crap and that I'm seeing now.
Well, we got to get out of here, Dan. I appreciate you coming on. We'll have you back on. More segments to come from the Reverend Dan Lopez. Thanks, brother.
Peace out, everybody.
Don't forget, this show is produced by The Fringe FM and cannot be rebroadcast or syndicated without written permission. Music was by Chronox, Bundy, Cassiopeia, and Space Station. We'll see you guys tomorrow night, same time with Butch Wachowski. Good night.